You know something? You're not as bad as everyone says you are. Hey, Wolfpack, we're back with another surprise tier list. This time we're doing another video game, and a really obscure one. We're talking about The Wolf Among Us, in celebration of the upcoming sequel, and because I recently played it, to prepare myself for the release of the sequel, which was supposed to be this December, only to be delayed. Yeah, The Wolf Among Us is honestly a pretty underrated video game. It has faded away into obscurity for some people, but has a huge cult following, especially among fans of the Fables saga. For those of you who don't know, The Wolf Among Us was based on a comic book about fairy tales who live in our modern day. Hello, hey cool show, glad you can make it. So, The Wolf Among Us was based upon a comic titled Fables. It has now fallen into the public domain thanks to a copyright dispute between the original creator and Warner Brothers / DC Comics. Yeah, DC apparently owns it now. Then it has fallen into public domain and there's a huge fight over it. I heard the creator made it public domain just to stick it to DC Comics, but yeah, that's a whole nother mess for a whole nother video. But yeah, The Wolf Among Us is based on Fables, an underrated comic book series about fairy tales coming to the real world, and it is a huge metaphor for immigration and a lot of political social commentary about our society. Fairy tales are real. They're actually people from a fictional fairy tale universe. They had a great exodus where they moved into the real world, and the fairy tales became normal people, got normal jobs, blended in with regular society, and there's some who don't. Leading to our video game. The Wolf Among Us is a prequel to the comic series, so you don't need to know too much about the comics. I, for one, have not read most of them. I looked up like basic information and Wikipedia stuff, but that's as far as my intel goes. I know of this through the video game. The Wolf Among Us introduced many, myself included, to the world of Fables. The fairy tales, the glamours, the war going on between the fairy tales and the mortal world. Yeah, all that kind of fun stuff. The Wolf Among Us was created by Telltale Games, the same studio behind Batman the Telltale series, and of course The Walking Dead, among other great titles like Guardians of the Galaxy, Tales from the Borderlands, Game of Thrones if you're into that. But Wolf Among Us was honestly one of their greatest titles. It is up there next to Season 1 of The Walking Dead, and yeah, the Batman the Telltale series, which I absolutely love. It is another point-and-click adventure style game, this time a Detective Noir one. You play as Sheriff Bigby Wolf, aka the Big Bad Wolf. The Big Bad Wolf is disguised as a normal human guy who basically protects Fabletown. Fabletown is the underground society of these fairy tale critters. He solves mysteries, solves cases, and in this video game he solves pretty much the biggest case. There's a mysterious villain going around murdering fairy tales, and it's up to Bigby Wolf to uncover what's going on here and prevent more death before it's too late, leading to a lot of dark, interesting storytelling. What's Fables? Shadow Ravencroft, you made it. You know what Fables is, Shadow. This is a prequel to Fables. You do not need to know too much about the comic series, even though they bring up a lot of stuff from the comics. They bring up the Fabletown, the Great Exodus, the mysterious adversary is mentioned, but we never actually see him in this video game. This is pretty much the Fables adapting to, immigrating, and adjusting to society. They're living among the Mundies. That's their nickname for humans. Instead of muggles, they call them Mundies. They're the mundane, the ordinary, the non-supernatural characters like the Fable beings. I was giving you an excuse to explain it. I was explaining it right now. Yeah, Fables, basically, these are all fairy tale creatures. Fairy tale beings, cryptids, supernatural monsters from a fictional fantasy world who crossed over into our real world. They have been basically excommunicated, sent packing, their country is at war, taken over by somebody called the Great Adversary, and we don't find out who this is. You gotta read the comics, so give them money, yeah. Yeah, you have to read the Fables comics to find out the full story, but we're watching them immigrate to New York City. Yep, they're in New York alongside the Ninja Turtles, the Avengers, and the Power Rangers. They came to New York to start a whole new life. It is a metaphor for immigration, political commentary on society, corruption, incompetent government, evil government, mafiosos taking advantage of the weak and those down on their luck. A lot of very deep and fascinating, mature themes. I will also warn you, this is not at all a game made for kids. Yes, it has fairy tale creatures, including the Big Bad Wolf and Snow White as two of the main characters, but they are hardcore R-rated edgy versions of our favorite fictional characters. Once Upon a Time TV MA edition, or Once Upon a Time Is This TV PG edition, don't know which was first. I know who the adversary is. I know you do, Shadow, because you read the comics. Even the comic is not for kids. Neither are the games. The games are packed with a ton of blood, violence, heavy political topics, very deep themes, mature stuff, murder, suicide, depression, self-identity discovering, and some nudity and sex. There are prostitutes involved. Some of the Disney princesses are prostitutes. Yeah, it's that kind of a world. It is a very hardcore take on basically deconstructing fairy tales. What happens after happily ever after? Well, this game explores that. The Fables are living in New York, and somebody is going around basically killing them. Sheriff Bigby Wolf finds a severed head left on the Fabletown apartment's doorstep, and takes it as a death threat that they're trying to exterminate Fables, leading to this big murder mystery of the Big Bad Wolf and Snow White trying to uncover and find out who it is. There's many villains, a lot of red herrings, very sketchy people, deconstructions of our favorite fairy tale characters. Very much it has this never meet your heroes kind of mentality to it. A lot of the fairy tale heroes are now much darker versions of themselves. A lot of the villains are actually trying to be good people, and there's a lot of creepy fairy tales who have not let go of their personality from the fantasy world, leading to this great epic mystery. Bigby Wolf is trying to crack the case, find out who killed these innocent fairy tales, and uncovers a greater evil scheme going on in Fabletown. So, yeah, there's a lot of secret society kind of ideas. Most of the fairy tales look a lot different. They all have these magical trinkets called glamours that allow them to transform into humans. They look like mundies, they look like the mundane people of the real world. Bigby Wolf is one of them. There's some characters on here who clearly don't have glamours. They're, again, social commentary that the glamours are very expensive. They are at a high price, and some, like Mr. Toad and Buffkin, can't even afford them, leading to all that deep talks about the government. Is the government incompetent? Is it full-blown corrupt? Or is it actually completely powerless to help the poor and common people? Even the comics is not for kids. No, it is not. Okay. We have all the characters who appear in The Wolf Among Us. I will warn you, I'm not talking about the comics, neither the Telltale comics or the actual Fables. So, Geppetto is not on here. We have all the characters who appear in the main game series. Some original characters, some directly from the Fables comics, and a wide assortment of suspects, villains, and common people who can be your greatest friend or greatest foe. Glamours are too expensive, so they send most of the animals to the farm. Yeah, the farm is kind of like their Arkham Asylum. It's the safe haven for fairy tales who can't fit in. All the animal beings, all the basically supernatural characters who can't afford glamours or can never pass for human. And it's run kind of like this dingy prison they don't like. It's kind of a shanty town in the comics. Most animals do not like to live on the farm, and living in the farm is considered a fate worse than death. They rather live in prison, which warns you how bad it is there. And Colin and Mr. Toad are often threatened to be sent to the farm, where Telltale's choice-based gameplay comes in here. If you know the comics, then you might have a better idea of what choices you'll make, but if you're new to the series like I was, it leads to a lot of interesting paths. The biggest difference in the gameplay is the ending. There are several alternate endings, but we'll talk about those when we get there. They tried to revolt on the farm, but it didn't go well. Hey, Shadow, do you know Colin's on this list? Colin, one of the 3 pigs. And if you read the comics, he does not have a happy ending. Okay, so got all the characters here from Bigby Wolf to the Crooked Man. Got a lot of original characters, characters directly pulled from the comics, characters who are humans, who are animals disguised as humans. A lot of fun characters to talk about. I love this video game. It is fun. I'm looking forward to Season 2. Telltale has advertised The Wolf Among Us Season 2 is coming. Unfortunately, they keep delaying its release. They keep saying it's going to be ready this year, then this year is coming to an end, then they say it's going to be next year, and yeah, some people's patience are wearing thin. I hope it comes out, but The Wolf Among Us 2 is in development hell, but that's a shame because the first game was so good, and that's what we're here to talk about. I know what happened to Colin in the comics, ... Yeah, Colin's actually in this. We get to see more of him for the prequel aspect. Bigby is so Hugh Jackman Wolverine coded, lol. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so I got all the characters from the video games, all the characters big and small who play a part in the story, and we're gonna rank them up here on this here tier list. Yeah, sorry, I am going to go simple with letter grades since I'm not sure a lot of people know of Fables or The Wolf Among Us in my YouTube community or atmosphere, if it were. I'm going to be ranking each and every character up here on this tier list from top best to bottom worst. So we'll go over it if this is your first tier list ever, if you're new here. I'll be ranking and talking about each of these characters in great detail, some in small detail, over who I liked versus who I hate. Up top, we have S tier. These ones are the best of the best, the great names, the big title Fables, the ones that are the greatest characters in this game and possibly the Fables comics, and these ones all-time favorites. These are the top dogs. Underneath that, we have A tier. These ones are good, a bit flawed. Yeah, some aren't as great, but I think they're good. I think they did their job well. I think they performed very well. Fun characters, and I kind of wish we got more of them. That's pretty much the big flaw. Some screen time is a factor here. But yeah, definitely golden entries, just not the perfect ones. Then we have B tier. These ones are okay. Silver Skulls, they're fine, they're alright, they're average, they did their job. I can see other people liking them. I wish we got a whole lot more, or their characters just weren't fleshed out as much as they were in their Fables. Definitely serviceable. Then underneath that, we have C tier. These ones are below average, the weak links, the duds, if you were. They could have been good. They're not the worst character ever, not the worst thing in this game, but honestly, kind of bland, underdeveloped, or generic, if you will. Then underneath that, we have D tier. These ones are lame, plain bad. I completely forgot these characters even exist. Forgettable, not at all good, not so bad it's horrible, but definitely not what I would call a great character. And honestly, I think more might end up in D tier than F tier. But speaking of which, F tier, bad, rock bottom, 0 out of 10, worst Fables of the story. Do not like them, have never met anyone who's liked them. I personally hate these characters. They are awful. They are total failures. Why not just do stars instead of letters? Because the tier list didn't give me that ability to use emoticons. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Okay, so we have at least 30 or so characters. Believe it or not, this has a really small cast for a Telltale game, but we have characters big, small, minor, whatever. Gonna rank them all on this tier list, so let's finally begin. Is Boy Blue here? Sorry, Shadow, he is not. Boy Blue gets referenced. We find he sent a letter to the mayor. You get to read it. It references something in the comic, but he doesn't physically appear. Yeah, that happens with a lot of the big name Fables from the comics. They're alluded to, referenced, but not a big part in this story. But let's start with the character I know you all know exactly where he's gonna rank. Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf. Sheriff Bigby Wolf, the protector of Fabletown, the anti-hero guardian of the fairy tales, and shocker, Bigby is going on to S tier. Yeah, was there really any doubt? This is not only one of the main characters from the comic, he is one of the greatest characters Telltale has ever made. This is Bigby Wolf. Bigby is a play on words. He's the big bad wolf. This is the big bad wolf who terrorized the Fable world, who almost killed Little Red Riding Hood, who fought the woodsman, who ruined the Three Little Pigs' houses, who died at the end of every story. Yeah, this is the big bad wolf in human form, so I do find it fascinating. Bigby Wolf is not a man who turns into a wolf. He's a wolf who turns into a man. Yeah, really. He's a giant kaiju-sized wolf who basically has the power of airbending. He can huff and puff and blow your house down. That's actually a superpower you unlock halfway through the game. Pretty fun character. Bigby Wolf is the noir detective. He's rough, he's gruff, very grizzled, he's too old for this shit, he's tired of the world, he's a cynical knight in sour armor. Bigby Wolf actually can have his personality altered depending on how you play him. Bigby Wolf can be exactly like his comic character. He could be a total jerk-ass Bigby, or he could actually be a heroic Bigby Wolf trying to redeem and atone for his sins. Hey, James. Bigby is the son of the North Wind, the embodiment of the wind. Yeah, Bloody Mary makes fun of him for that. Didn't your mother teach you manners? Or was she too busy fucking whatever breeze blew by? And yeah, that's a slam against Bigby's childhood. Bigby is actually the son of a wind spirit and a mother wolf, a heroic white wolf. Bigby's mom basically mated with this wind spirit, the North Wind, and they gave birth to a litter of puppies. Bigby was the youngest and easily the most impressionable. Bigby is hiding behind a tough guy facade, but actually has a heart of gold deep down. Bigby longs for acceptance, and basically all of Fabletown is afraid of him. Bigby Wolf is treated kind of like a second-class citizen. Some straight up don't like him, some refuse to work with him, and some are completely terrified of him. There's a lot of fairy tales who don't like hanging out with him, who are afraid to get near him, afraid that they'll piss off the big bad wolf, and he might kill them any second. Yeah, it's that kind of game. Bigby Wolf is kind of a metaphor for minorities, how they're stereotyped and treated differently. Bigby Wolf is a combo between Wolverine and Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, that is my closest comparison. He's kind of like Wolverine and Wreck-It Ralph combined. He's Wolverine because he really looks like Hugh Jackman. They went out of their way to kind of make him look like Hugh Jackman. How he looks as Wolverine or Van Helsing. Kind of this grouchy, hardened, jerk-ass guy. He's a jerk with a heart of gold, has badly shaven, always wears his tattered clothes, and easily angry and dead serious 100% of his life. However, he's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph because he wants to do good, but he ends up looking like a bad guy most of the time. Just because he's a bad guy doesn't mean he's a bad person. And that's kind of his story arc. He wants to show that he's capable of good, legit help protect the fairy tales of Fabletown, but a lot of people do not see him as a good person. They still see him as that evil villain who terrorized the fairy tale universe. Sorry, I'm not able to join here. I'm busy writing a certain thing. I know you know, Kat. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, James. I got your email. How you gonna say Telltale made Bigby Wolf? Bill Willingham made Bigby Wolf? Yeah, he did, but Telltale kind of softens him a bit. In the comics, Bigby Wolf is much more of a cold SOB. He does not have any remorse or regret for his actions, behaved like a full-blown animal. In the game, they kind of try to humanize Bigby more. Telltale gives you more options to show a lighter side, a more noble, gentler side to Bigby Wolf. We see Bigby legit try to make friends, legit try to open up. You can actually choose the nice options as Bigby Wolf, something he did not do often under Willingham's pen. This game sucks. Boy Blue is my goat. Sorry, Shadow, but if you're curious, Jack Horner made it on. Yeah, here's Jack between Mr. Toad and the jersey. I'm surprised this is $15 on Steam. It was expensive at a point, Shadow Ravencroft. Once upon a time, this game used to cost $30, then it dropped to $25. I remember paying for it on the 360. Now, I get it at cheaper prices. It's on sale a lot. It went from $25 to $15, and on sales they drop it down to completely $5, so it's much easier to buy. Okay, love Bigby Wolf. He is cool, he is badass, he is no nonsense, and throughout the game we see him in a different werewolf form. In the first, we see him get like a half man, half wolf form. He has like bloodshot eyes, he grows claws, and you can see his fangs coming out. Then as it goes on, you get a little more of the werewolf form. It's kind of like a Super Saiyan process. There's different phases to the wolf. We see him look slightly bestial. We see him in a Hulk wolf form. He's like this incredible Hulk, but with a werewolf top half. He gets like his ears, the fur completely covers him. Then ultimately, we get to his final form in the last episode, revealing that Bigby, the big bad wolf, is this giant, humongous 10-foot tall wolf, and he absolutely wrecks Bloody Mary. It shows you that he's been holding back his true form this whole time. He's been playing nice for the entire game, trying to hold his rage and wolf instincts in until the final boss, where he just lets loose and completely murders the evil fairy tale Bloody Mary. He and Bloody Mary have a final boss fight in episode 5, and playing as the wolf is so cool. They highlight how badass he is, gives him these cinematic visuals like Batman in the Telltale games. He's wrecking Bloody Mary and her shadow clones, and finally huffs and he puffs and he blows the house down. Yeah, he has like this super wind power which wrecks all the clones, and he chomps Bloody Mary into pieces. Really cool stuff. Okay, so at the end of the game, basically Bigby's character arc is dependent on your choices. Do you have Bigby Wolf go down the path he does in the comics, have him become a completely cold, jerk-ass villain protagonist, or show that the big bad wolf is capable of good, capable of mercy, and bringing justice to Fabletown? Bigby Wolf can potentially be put on trial. After you capture the game's main villain, you have the option of killing him or sentencing him to prison. If you kill the main villain, then Bigby is the one put on trial, and the Fables basically come out and like open up all their full baggage and problems with Bigby Wolf, complaining that the big bad wolf is threatening, they're terrified of him, and they're not sure they trust him because he works for the government, and makes Snow White kind of look a lot worse if you took all the evil options. And I usually choose the good path. I usually like having Bigby redeem himself, show that he is capable of good. He's not perfect, but he's more than willing to help the people, and bringing in the main villain alive is honestly a pretty satisfying ending to me. I know a lot of people like the ending where you get to call out the citizens on being jerkasses and misjudging Bigby Wolf. I think either ending kind of works for the character, but this one gives me a lot more satisfaction because it shows you how far Bigby has grown, how much better he is, and the Fabletown finally giving him respect is long overdue. But yeah, Bigby Wolf, he is awesome. Love his design, love his voice, love his savage brutality. Bigby Wolf is a lot less clean at fighting than Lee Everett or Batman are. Yeah, Bigby Wolf, full primal savage mode. Love his detective skills, and I do love a lot of the lines, what's his name, Adam Harrington gives him. Yeah, the guy voicing him does a pretty good job. I believe Bigby is voiced by the same guy who voiced Andy St. John from The Walking Dead. He was the cannibal guy on the farm. The second one, the one in the green shirt who fights you at the electric fence. Yeah, apparently that was him. I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works, dun dun. Okay, so Bigby Wolf is awesome, he is S tier, he's an all-star, one of the most underrated Telltale protagonists ever, and honestly this guy deserves to be a comic book icon based on how the Fables portrayed him. If you love Bigby Wolf from the Fables comic, you will absolutely love how he is in this video game. I think they actually made him better and a lot more easy to access for mainstream audiences and normies like myself. Bigby Wolf is just as awesome in the video games as he is in the comics. So he's going on to S tier. Alright, next we do have to get the other protagonist out of the way, Snow White, played by Erin Yvette. And her voice should sound familiar because Erin Yvette uses the exact same voice she does for Bonnie from The Walking Dead, Vicky Vale from Batman the Telltale series, and Sasha from the Tales from the Borderlands. Yeah, Erin Yvette really loves working for Telltale. Hey, I see you're tearing the werewolf. Hey, Monica, you made it. You did Bigby Wolf already. He's S tier, because of course he is. Might be the #1 character on this tier list, if I'm being honest. Alright, we're doing the other protagonist, Snow White. Snow White, okay, I know a lot of people love her from the comics, but honestly, I might put her onto A tier. I think Snow White is honestly alright as a character. She is a lot more likable in here than she is in the comics, that's for certain. But Snow White, I think she's decent. Yes, this is Snow White, the first Disney princess, Snow White from the Seven Dwarfs Tale. She is basically the mayor's assistant in this, and it's a prequel to how she becomes the deputy mayor of Fabletown. Snow White is not yet the leader of Fabletown like she is in the comic book. She is Ichabod Crane's assistant. She serves Ichabod Crane, but really she's the one doing all the work. She's the woman behind the man, the one who does all the heavy lifting, the one who does everything Ichabod Crane commands, and actually cares about helping the people of Fabletown, whereas Ichabod Crane is an incompetent coward. She honestly is a pretty decent character. Snow White is trying to get her agency back and find herself. She was infamous for being a damsel in distress in her original fairy tale. She needed protection and saving, and basically Snow White wants to show that she's a strong, independent woman. She can take care of herself, and she grows into her own throughout the course of the game. Snow White and Bigby form an odd friendship, and if you know the comics, it slowly turns into their romance. Ichabod Crane sucks. Yes, he does, Shadow, and he sucks even more in this video game, if you can believe it or not. If there's a live-action Wolf Among Us, Hugh Jackman should play Bigby Wolf. Yeah, he should. I honestly thought they would have done that by now, but no, he's still playing Wolverine after all these years. There's a tier list among us. Hey, Shadowlink, you made it. You missed us praise Bigby Wolf, who's on S tier. We're now on Snow White, who is A tier. Yeah, don't worry, guys. Most of you made it early. Snow White, honestly, is kind of mean. She's kind of abrasive. Very much a hardened bitch. Snow White slowly lightens up thanks to Bigby Wolf working with her. Snow White takes the threat to Fabletown very seriously, whereas Ichabod Crane is kind of cowering and trying to write the murders off. Snow White takes this very seriously, realizes that there is a huge problem, and she and Bigby work together to investigate it. Snow White is the closest you have to an ally. She's your Kenny, your Alfred. She's the one who backs up Bigby Wolf. Snow White has the political motion to help Bigby on his cases. And if you're familiar with the comics, they slowly hint and tease at their romance, that Snow White and Bigby have feelings for each other. They're starting to trust each other more and open up. So, I do like Snow White. She plays the good cop to Bigby Wolf's bad cop. She is actually a politician who cares about helping the people. She's being held back and restrained by her douchebag boss, Ichabod Crane. Unable to get a lot of work done, is basically put upon by Crane. And Bigby Wolf is kind of her aloof ally at first. They start working together. You're tricked into thinking Snow White was killed, but no, it was a misdirect. They try to tease that Snow White is dead in the first episode of this game. Honestly, I did kind of fall for it. We are led to believe Snow White was also beheaded and left for dead. No, she was actually alive, and a prostitute who was glamored up to look like Snow White was killed in her place. And obviously, this is a threat against their government, and makes them take the case very seriously. However, Snow White kind of teeters the line between good and evil halfway through. She is completely emotionally affected by this case. She is compromised, she's vulnerable, she's letting her feelings take the best of her, and she starts making a lot of irrational decisions. Like first, Snow White tries dismissing a lot of Bigby Wolf's intel, doesn't tell him too much about the case, and at one point, you find out that there's a criminal you're hunting down, and basically, they hired a prostitute to glamour themselves up to look like Snow White. And Snow is completely disillusioned, completely hurt by this case, is emotionally compromised, basically. She doesn't know what to make of this and finds out it's Ichabod Crane. Her boss is secretly lusting after Snow White, secretly stalking her, having her followed, taking clips of her hair, taking photos, and Ichabod Crane has his own private room where he hires prostitutes to dress up like Snow White so he can fantasize himself as her Prince Charming, helping her reawaken with a kiss like in the Disney version of the story, and Snow, clearly pissed off by all this. However, she ends up taking her rage out on a lot of people. Auntie Greenleaf gets her glamour tree completely destroyed because Snow White is blinded by pure rage and hatred. She, basically abuses her authority, takes things into her own hands, is not listening to anyone, including Bigby Wolf, and one of your choices is burn this poor witch's glamour tree, or force her to work for the government, but under Bigby's watch, which Snow White doesn't approve of. Can't wait for Season 2 whenever it comes out. Yeah, me neither. I love Wolf Among Us. Also, people ship Snow White and Bigby. If you don't know, Monica, in the comics, Snow White and Bigby are a couple, and they have children together. A strong, independent woman done correctly. I agree, John Smith, much better. However, she doesn't make it to S tier because, yeah, Snow White kind of gets compromised. Her emotions definitely dominate her when she finds out her boss was a terrible person, and yeah, I don't blame her. Unfortunately, she is lashing out at a lot of other people who are basically also kind of under the thumb of Ichabod Crane. They were forced to do it. They were forced to lie, and basically they had no intent to harm Snow White, but she does not care. She's harming them. Yeah, people ship Snow White and Bigby because they're a couple. I do agree she is a better example of a strong female character, especially because she also gets called out for her actions near the end of the game, and Snow White does show she has remorse for some of the stuff she's done. Cat, don't make me choose between you, Digital Circus, and Tamers. And the Digital Circus episode ain't going anywhere. Yeah, that's kind of a double-edged sword, knowing how similar it is. Would he want to? Really love The Wolf Among Us as much as Batman the Telltale series. Yep, absolutely love it because a fairy tale noir story, and the majority of the characters are very fun. They are, but then you get to creeps like Ichabod Crane and Bloody Mary. Can't wait for Season 2, absolutely. Also, missed opportunity, they should have had Dracula. Yeah, does Dracula count as a fable? I'm sure he does, because they counted Bloody Mary in this, but yeah, no Dracula. Hey Cat, I made it. See, we're doing my favorite Telltale game. Can't wait for Season 2. Me neither, 19 Chris. Looking forward to Season 2. It was supposed to be out this month, but guess what? Got delayed again. Now we gotta wait. But I played the first game in celebration, so why not do this tier list? Alright, so I do like Snow White as a character. She's honestly not my favorite character of the game, which is why she's not an S tier, but she's pretty good. I can see why people like her. Snow White is an underrated Disney princess too, but this version of her, yeah, I'm kind of okay with. A lot nicer than she is in the comics. Snow White kind of gets back to Earth. She's pulled back. She lightens up. Kind of becomes Time Force Jen halfway through, but becomes a lot nicer. She warms up to Bigby. They are clearly falling in love, but it's not followed up on. Yeah, go read the comics or buy Season 2 to see that ship continue. But yeah, Snow White, I think she's fine. I'll put her on A tier. She's a politician and a strong, independent woman who actually cares. Going on to A tier. Awesome princess. Alright, next, I think we should knock out one of our first villains, Ichabod Crane. Yeah, this guy. Let's get him over with. This is Ichabod Crane, voiced by Ghostface, Roger L. Jackson. And I bring this up because you can actually hear Ghostface in a few of his angry moments. Okay, Ichabod Crane, kind of hard to judge because he is an awful character, but he's also meant to be. Ichabod I might put onto B tier. This is Ichabod Crane, the deputy mayor of Fabletown, a completely incompetent, dumbass Sentinel Prime type of character. Ichabod Crane is basically this this annoying bureaucrat who always has red tape, always demands that you follow his rules, his system, but deep down, he is a completely corrupt, cowardly douchebag, and we find out he's a lot worse than his meanness implies. Ichabod Crane is pretty much the uptight boss, always demanding Sheriff Bigby and Snow White comply, always has to stick his nose into everything, always has to tell people what to do. We find out he's also terrible at his job. Has like a bunch of letters from Fable characters. Yeah, Boy Blue also sent him a letter asking for air conditioning at the apartment. He never got any work done. We find out he's also embezzling money from Fabletown to afford his creepy hobby. So, Ichabod Crane is very clearly a red herring. He's an obvious douchebag, so you suspect he's up to no good. You find out he is up to no good, but he's not the main villain. Ichabod Crane is in league with the true main villain of the game. We find out he's stealing money so he can pay for prostitutes to dress up as Snow White. It turns out Crane is a completely disturbed, creepy incel who has a crush on Snow White but can't tell her how he feels, so he hires prostitutes to glam themselves up to look like Snow White and has a fantasy of the Disney movie where he's her Prince Charming, he gives her a kiss and has his way with Snow White. He's been stealing money and kind of stalking Snow White all throughout for years, and we find out he's up to no good. We're tricked into believing he's the killer. It turns out, no, he's in the big pocket of someone worse. Somebody evil. Somebody crooked. Yeah, I'll get to him soon. But yeah, Ichabod Crane is the red herring for the first half of the game. You find him, and it turns out, no, he's this pathetic, sniveling weasel who is trying to prove he's innocent. He made a deal with Auntie Greenleaf, tried to get a magic power ring to break a curse on one of the prostitutes to tell the truth that he's innocent, because he looks super guilty and suspicious. B? Yeah, Monica, I know, that might be a bit too high. I know Ichabod Crane is a douchebag, but he's supposed to be a villain character. He's supposed to be a twist villain who's secretly underhanded and doing awful stuff. Yeah, I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but it's kind of like a Valentino thing. You know, he's an awful piece of crap who deserves the worst, but he's also supposed to be designed that way, and yeah, opinions will really divide. I know, they should have had Dracula. Yeah, Bigby and Snow have every right to be mad after all that. You do get the option to punch Ichabod Crane multiple times. Ichabod kind of goes out pathetically. He's arrested by Bigby and completely dethroned as mayor. Snow White becomes the mayor, tells him to his face that he's fired. And Ichabod Crane tells her that basically forewarned Snow White of her arc. You know how many sacrifices I had to make to sit in that chair? You think you're gonna come out of this squeaky clean? No, you're gonna end up like me, strangled by the chains of command. And yeah, he gives a speech that basically kind of forewarns that Snow White is not in for an easy time, that even though he was a terrible leader, that there was a lot of stress, a lot of responsibility, and indeed a lot of expectations for being the mayor. He's kind of right in this sense, but yeah, you still get to punch him or call him out. Ichabod Crane is arrested. However, in a twist, he's saved by the real villains, who we'll get to soon enough. Yeah, Ichabod Crane gets rescued by the villains. You have a boss fight against the Tweedles and Bloody Mary. Bigby Wolf actually loses, and Ichabod Crane is taken away by the true villain and sent to Paris because that's his fate in the comics. Unfortunately, Crane is protected by continuity. The last we ever see of him is a small cameo. He's sent to Paris basically to hide for the rest of his life. They give him an easy out because he gave them all the intel they needed. And if you don't know, in the comics, Bigby Wolf is sent after Ichabod Crane, and he ends up dying in the comics in a fight there. I ship Bigby and Snow. They're a cute couple like Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I agree. I like Bigby and Snow White's growing romance here. But Ichabod Crane honestly might go on to B tier because you kind of love to hate him, and Roger L. Jackson does a pretty phenomenal job voicing him. It's kind of funny hearing Ghostface slip in his lines every now and then. Yeah, I was kind of shocked. Roger L. Jackson plays Ichabod Crane, and whenever he's angry, you can start to hear the Ghostface voice. Like, I cannot believe your incompetence, Snow. Don't you hang up on me, bitch, or I'll gut you just like I did your mother. Really hear the ghost face in there. Also, if you read the comics that this game is based on, I have not. I looked up like basic Wikipedia information, and that's about as far as my research goes. But I am aware, yeah, Ichabod Crane actually died in the comics. I was kind of pissed off we don't get to kill him in this game. No, he's saved by canon events. It's odd that most of the fables that are supposed to be good turned evil and corrupt. Yeah, Ichabod Crane, though, if you watch the Disney version of Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane was kind of not a nice guy in that. Don't forget, Roger L. Jackson also voices Mojo Jojo, too. Yeah, that's right, he does. It's kind of funny. Mojo Jojo plays this guy creeping on Snow White. That is so hilarious. But yeah, I think Roger L. Jackson honestly did a pretty good job making Ichabod Crane this pathetic, sniveling weasel. I compare him more to like Valentino or Peter Pettigrew. He's supposed to be pathetic and backstabby, but that's what kind of makes him a fun villain. He does suffer comeuppance. You get to punch him out as Bigby Wolf, and basically he loses his job, loses his life, and loses everything he had in New York. He is completely out of power and on the run. But that's the story for the comic books to wrap up. Yeah, I thought he did fine. I'll put him on the B tier. He did his job, and Roger L. Jackson has some pretty good performances and lines here. Alright, next, I think we should talk about the true villain, the mastermind, the Crooked Man. Oh yeah, I love this guy. Crooked Man going into S tier. Alright. This is the Crooked Man. He is the true twist villain of the game. The Crooked Man is a mafioso, a loan shark, the true ruler of Fabletown. The Crooked Man owns this town. He is the puppet master pulling all the strings. Everyone answers to the Crooked Man. The low-class crooks, the citizens, heck, even the friggin' mayor are all in his back pocket. The Crooked Man is this scary, disturbing powerhouse hiding in the shadows. The Crooked Man basically controls people because he gives them what their government can't. He gives them money, gives them protection, gives them trinkets they need, trinkets they desire, anything you want, but it comes at a high price. The Crooked Man is the kingpin of Fabletown. He's the true villain of our story. Crooked Man is this very creepy, sinister, ominous puppet master living in the shadows, lurking in darkness, lives in a magic teleporting house, which is how the government can't ever find him, and he has his claws in literally everyone. You find out more and more about him, learning that the Crooked Man essentially is the true reason why Fabletown is suffering. He's a loan shark. He gives you what you want, but he takes a lot back. To the town, he's a necessary evil. Yeah. Honestly, I thought Tom Kane voiced him at first because he sounds like the Admiral from the Clone Wars. No, it's not. It's some other guy. More better than the recent Hellboy movie involving the Crooked Man. Okay, that is kind of a tough comparison because Hellboy's Crooked Man is wildly different from this Crooked Man. This is the Crooked Man. He lived in a crooked house, had a crooked wife, a crooked son, even a crooked dog. Yeah, the Crooked Man weirdly used to be a good guy in his fairy tale. He was actually this peaceful guy. Then, when they moved over to New York, completely embraced being evil. The Crooked Man is basically that guy. He's very good with numbers. He does accounting, he has a lot of riches, a lot of control, and he has the means to give people what they want. Over the course of the game, the Crooked Man is built up too heavily. You meet a ton of red herrings, then find something in common. A lot of them have these boxes with the Crooked Man logo. It's basically this guy on a torture rack. It's a device that makes you crooked. I.e., like breaking your bones, twisting your spine and limbs, turning you into basically him. Yeah, if you can't tell, he has like a slooping eye here, he has like a crooked spine, but the Crooked Man is kind of this gentleman psychopath type of character. He talks very politely, well-mannered, but really, he's pretending to be kind even as he's orchestrating a lot of people's deaths and a lot of illegal misdeeds in Fabletown. You don't actually meet the Crooked Man until the end of episode 4. Yeah, there's 5 episodes whole. The Crooked Man is revealed to be the true mastermind in episode 3. You catch like a brief hint of his hand waving off Bloody Mary. He's hiding in the shadows, doesn't have a voice actor yet, until episode 4. After Bigby finally puts the magic mirror together, collects all the clues, connects the dots, figures out what's going on here, we find out the Crooked Man lives in this teleporting house where the door appears in like different areas, and you have to go there in a limited amount of time. Bigby finally tracks it down and confronts the Crooked Man in his bizarre church castle. And surprisingly, the Crooked Man has a sit-down and a negotiation with the sheriff. He pretends he's this well-mannered, well-meaning chap, this friendly sort of fellow, offers Bigby like lobsters and fine wine, basically pretending he's like this kind-hearted gentleman's soul, but really, he is the most evil monster in this game. The Crooked Man hides his evil behind all these nice smiles and friendly gestures. Really, he is a complete monster. He loves power, loves control, and tries to basically make a deal with Bigby to get out of facing any legal troubles himself. We find out the Crooked Man ordered the deaths of these 2 prostitutes because they tried leaving his power. The prostitutes wanted to run away, make a life of their own, and get out of debt to the Crooked Man. Crooked Man did not like that, so he ordered Georgie to kill the prostitutes. However, word got out, word spread pretty quickly, and we find out the Crooked Man is now trying to cover his tracks because Bigby is getting too close for comfort. He offers Bigby a deal. He'll give him Georgie because Georgie is technically the one who killed him, and yeah, it basically becomes clear he's throwing Georgie under the bus. Georgie's completely pissed and said, "Well, you said I was protected. Oh, you just misinterpreted one of my orders. Clearly, there's a misunderstanding here," and yeah, basically it kind of shows you what kind of person he truly is. There was a crooked man, he walked a crooked mile, he found a crooked cat and its crooked mouse, lived in a crooked house. Yeah, that's the poem. That's the poem, Monica. The Crooked Man from the Conjuring movies. By the recent Hellboy Crooked Man, I mean the movie. The game's Crooked Man is more better than that version. Yeah, because he's actually a character here. So he tries turning Georgie over, but Bigby is having none of it, realizes that the Crooked Man is behind everything, tries to arrest them. You can potentially arrest them both, but things go south. The gang ends up attacking and fighting Bigby Wolf. You track down either the Crooked Man and Bloody Mary or Georgie and Vivian, who get away in separate cars, have this awesome car chase. Crooked Man doesn't show up again until you confront him in the factory. We find out the Crooked Man is basically the powerhouse behind everything. If you don't follow his orders, then he kills you. Georgie was basically kind of forced into villainy, had to kill the prostitutes or it would have been him made an example of. Crooked Man fights you at the factory. He sends Bloody Mary, where you have the awesomest boss fight with her. Then once it becomes clear that he has no power over Bigby Wolf and Bigby kills his greatest enforcer, he tries to negotiate a deal with Bigby. And this unfortunately leads to a lot of different paths. There are 4 different endings to how The Wolf Among Us ends. You can follow up on the Crooked Man's deal, arrest him, and send him to a trial. However, you can also kill him right then and there. You can actually kill him, rip his throat out, and if you kill the Crooked Man, then Bigby's the one on trial, and everyone talks about how they feel about Bigby Wolf, how they're afraid of him, but I always take the option to bring the Crooked Man in because, 1, I do like seeing more of this character. 2, it is actually pretty satisfying to finally call him out and show him he doesn't have any more power. Yeah, I know, a lot of people love killing the Crooked Man right then and there, but I do like taking him to trial first, because we do get to see more of him, how he operates and how he thinks, and I do like the guy's voice acting. He does a pretty good job playing this fun, mysterious, sinister mob boss type of villain, always speaking with this very privileged and fancy talk. Do you know about the creepypasta version of the poem? No, I do not, Monica. And yeah, I agree, this version is a monster. Yeah, Crooked Man is basically a tyrant. He is a complete oppressor. He's an abuser. He's the one holding them down. He keeps them hopelessly in debt so they'll be his slaves, essentially. The Crooked Man is no better than the infamous adversary in the comics. He is a complete tyrant ruling over them, using fear, using threats, and having his inner circle of fantasy villains. Yeah, kind of like Power Ranger villains, honestly, but yeah, his enforcers basically back him up, and he gives them anything they need, but you basically are owned by him in return. I do pick the good ending where you get to bring the Crooked Man to trial, finally call him out. He tries turning them against Bigby and Snow White by saying, "Oh, am I really evil, or is it the government that's evil? I helped you while the government failed you. They didn't listen to you. I gave you money when you needed it. I helped you save your homes. I helped you earn an honest living. I kept you protected while your government ignored you. It's their fault you even came to me." And basically trying to turn everyone against Snow White and Bigby, saying, "Well, I'm not the real villain. I'm a necessary evil in Fabletown. I do the hard stuff the government refuses." And yeah, it's basically complete BS. Completely him saying, "Oh, am I really that bad? Or am I actually good because I helped you?" Very clearly, like, nonchalantly telling them that they could lose everything by losing him, telling them that they need him more than he needs them, basically. It's honestly pretty interesting, but yeah, you get to call him out, and he's finally shut up when Narissa comes up and tells him that, oh, she knows he's evil. Yeah, Narissa, basically your inside contact, the one helping you the most on this case, comes to the Crooked Man's trial, revealing that the spell that kept her silent was broken, and she finally calls out the Crooked Man in the most satisfying reason you suck speech ever, that he has no power over her, and Crooked Man kind of loses it because he does not recognize who this woman is, showing you that the Crooked Man is a complete liar. He does not care about the common people because he doesn't even recognize this woman as one of the slaves under his thumb. Narissa calls him out, tells everyone that she's a witness, she can testify against him. She heard the Crooked Man, saw him actually kill the prostitutes, and Crooked Man kind of loses it, completely snaps, tries to murder Rigby in one last-ditch effort to take him with him, but no, Rigby's too badass and you finally get to punch him out, leading to another round of choices. You can either toss the Crooked Man down the witching well, you can completely rip his head off as a werewolf. Yeah, those are pretty satisfying endings. Or you could take the peaceful path, the hero path. The Crooked Man, completely depowered, is thrown in prison, morphed into a raven. Yeah, the Crooked Man is turned into a bird. He gets the be careful what you wish for ending, and is locked in a birdcage the rest of his life as a mindless animal, which honestly I kind of take because it's the much more heroic option and completely depowers the Crooked Man. And I agree with Auntie Greenleaf that maybe murdering our enemies isn't the best start to a brighter future. But yeah, all endings, all pretty satisfying. Either the Crooked Man is turned into Samantha Bird, becomes a crow locked in a cage, or he's beheaded, tossed down the witching well, or tossed down the witching well completely alive to suffer a fate worse than death. So I catch up on comments. I'm just gonna say playing a PS Vita version was the worst on load times, frame rate dips, and audio that sounds like it was from a tin can. Yeah, those handheld devices had a very rocky trend of audio. Which do you prefer, this Crooked Man or the Conjuring 2 version? Sorry, 19 Chris, I've not seen the Conjuring Crooked Man. I can tell that he talks like what Slenderman would have looked like in this game. Another missed opportunity. At least he's not as bad as the Loan Sharks and Squid Games, or what you can think of, Cat. Well, he's not as bad as Spider-Man's Kingpin, who would crush your skull with a car door. But yeah, this Crooked Man, honestly, I really liked him as a villain. He's basically that character who calls you out on all the choices you made, who tells Bigby Wolf that, oh, was that a good choice you made? He's the stranger from The Walking Dead. Telltale does this in every friggin' game. There's always that one character. That one character who challenges all your choices you've made, your morality, asks if, oh, was that the right choice you made? Are you actually a hero for doing this or that? Yeah, that's the Crooked Man's role if you choose the trial route. If you choose the trial, the Crooked Man basically calls out Bigby and Snow on some of their choices, the morally gray options throughout the game, how Snow White burned Auntie Greenleaf's tree or not, all the threats you made, how Bigby Wolf also killed people just like him, but Bigby Wolf's not on trial, and all that BS. Yeah, pretty interesting character. So, if you read the Telltale comic book about the Wolf Among Us, there's an infamous change in the ending where the Crooked Man somehow escaped prison, which, yeah, makes no sense because, one, he was either a bird or completely dead. And yeah, there's like this dumb alternate ending hinting that he was going to be the villain in the sequel. I am kind of glad this was rendered non-canon. Yeah, the comic for the video game, not very good, and I can really tell that this was somebody's Crooked Man fan fiction because he gets a lot of focus in it. It would be funny if he was a talking crow like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch would have been, but Auntie Greenleaf confirms he can't talk, and when Bigby taunts him, all he can do is caw. Okay, yeah, to wrap up, Crooked Man, awesome villain, pretty underrated. I like the writing behind him. I like how he's this mysterious puppet master. I like how he actually stays calm and collected even when he's losing. Very suave, very cool, has a really creepy looking design, and honestly, keeping him alive led to a lot of interesting dialogue options. I think he is like one of the best characters in the game, and honestly one of the best adaptations of the Crooked Man. I know there's not a lot to work with since, yeah, only Hellboy and The Conjuring made him, but what they did with him, pretty fascinating. I think he is a great villain, and he's going on to S tier. Alright, let's get one of our bad characters out of the way. Let's do Mr. Toad, who is going on to F tier. Alright, Mr. Toad, not as good as he was on Beware the Batman. This is Mr. Toad, basically one of the poor citizens of Fabletown. He is so poor that he can't even fix his apartment, and he can't even afford a glamour. Yeah, Mr. Toad, he's in his Toad form all throughout the game, and basically he's this whiny, obnoxious, anger-prone citizen who blames the government for most of his problems. He owns this crappy apartment where you enter, and he's kind of a reoccurring character throughout the game, always talking to Bigby Wolf, complaining that, oh, he has to pay for so much, the government isn't helping him, and he can't even afford a glamour. He kind of suffers all throughout the game. He suffers like a lot of attacks from the Crooked Man game. Bigby accidentally destroys his car during a fight with the woodsman. He's always grouchy, always cynical, always complaining, and kind of why I don't like him, but the reason why I hate him comes towards the ending. So, Mr. Toad kind of lies to Bigby Wolf all throughout the game. The Crooked Man's the Crooked Man's gang threatened him and his boy because Toad Jr. was a witness to one of their crimes. They threaten him to keep them quiet. He calls Bigby Wolf, and he's supposed to represent like the abused or poor citizens of Fabletown. Another metaphor about like politics and the economy. But here's the thing. This is why I hate Mr. Toad. Near the end of the game, you have the option to give Mr. Toad money to afford a glamour. I chose to give him this money, and Mr. Toad actually becomes nice, thanks Bigby, and says, yep, he'll finally get on it. And what does he do? He buys a new friggin' car! Yes, he and his son desperately need glamours to make themselves look human. You can give him money. I give him the money that Mayor Crane stole. Give it back to him. Tell him, go buy a glamour. He leaves happy, promising he will, and he never does it. He never buys him or his son a glamour, and because of his selfish stupidity, he and his son are sent packing to the farm. Yeah, no matter what choice you make, no matter what you do, this dumbass doesn't buy a glamour first second he gets, and now he and Toad Jr. are forced to live at the crappy farm. I might add the Crooked Man to my Ricargino Legenda series. Okay, Shadow, good for you. Crooked Man is really awesome in this game. You should play it just for him. Ah, well, we have enough talking animals. We do. We got Colin, Mr. Toad, Toad Jr. Flycatcher is technically a frog, too, but yeah. I tolerated Mr. Toad, but yet again, he is the type of person you deal with in real life. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Mr. Toad is supposed to be basically irresponsible. He's a poor citizen and basically complains about his problems and projects a lot onto other people, telling him, well, you were supposed to help me out. Why should I do something to fix my own screwed up life? Why should I do work? Why should I use the money from my own pocket? Why can't I just buy an expensive sports car? You government people are supposed to be helping me, and Snow White has enough of him and sends him to the farm because Toad and his son do not have glamours, and obviously people in New York seeing a talking toad person would be really weird and get them into trouble. And yeah, no matter what choice you make, Mr. Toad is sent to the farm, and of course he's complaining and blaming you. It's like, well, I told Snow White I had the money, but she still shipped us to the bloody farm. And yeah, that was your own fault, dumbass. You didn't buy your friggin' glamour. There are people like him in real life. Yeah, I know, Monica. I know that's the point. Mr. Toad is kind of like real life person. He's basically a toxic bum. He doesn't fix his own life. He doesn't do anything to help himself, expects free handouts, and basically complains to the government that they're not doing a good enough job. At first, you feel like he does have a point, but it becomes very clear he's not doing anything to help lift himself out of the rut he's in. And that's kind of why I don't like him. I know just because it's real doesn't make it good. I chose my homie, the pig, over Toad and his son. Yeah, I chose Colin too, because one, Colin actually listens to you, and two, Colin doesn't go outside in the real world to expose himself. He's a pig, he stays quiet, keeps his head down, and basically only lives in the Fabletown area, so yeah, he's good. Unlike Mr. Toad, who goes out in public and drives an expensive sports car, completely unglamored. Yeah, that definitely ruined his character. Yeah, the grand finale reveals that Mr. Toad, no matter what choice he made, he doesn't buy his friggin' glamour. He wastes the money on a sports car and luxury items, and because of his stupidity, he and his son are sent to the farm. Toad is a character in the comics, and basically if you know the comics, he was gonna get sent to the farm either way, but it's implied we were gonna see him again, because Toad Jr. mentions he's friends with Snow White. Speaking of which, Toad Jr., played by Clementine, is our cute kid character for a Telltale game, and yeah, Toad Jr. I'll put onto A tier. Yeah, the son is a lot more likable. Mr. Toad, he sucks, going on to F tier. Mr. Toad from Beware the Batman, much better representation of the character. This is Toad Jr., Mr. Toad's son, played by Clementine, if you can believe it or not. You can faintly hear the Clementine voice, but Melissa tries to go for like a boy voice for this character. By the way, Kat, what is the farm? Care to explain? If you don't know, 19 Chris, in Fables, the farm is basically a quote-unquote safe area where all the supernatural and animal characters from fantasy fairy tales are forced to live. These are the fairy tales who can't afford glamours. Glamours basically make you look human. They're a magical trinket that makes you look like a regular human, a muggle, a mundy, a civilian to walk among the normal people. Mr. Toad and his son Toad Jr. are animal people, and if you don't buy a glamour to make yourself look human, you are sent to the farm. It's this homeless shanty town / prison area where they seal off all the abnormal fables. The fables who are mythical creatures, animal people, supernatural beings. They're forced to live here, and the farm is less like an ideal safe zone city and more like a prison. It's their Arkham Asylum, their Arkham City. It's a place where they're forced to live among and away from normal people, and basically, they don't like it. They're treated like lower class citizens, feel like they're prisoners, feel like they can never ever leave the farm. And in the comics, there's a huge revolt there. There's a prison break, a war breaks out, and some fairy tales end up dead here. The farm is a place that none of the animals like to live, and basically, you could probably like get away with killing people here because they're not people. So, a furry con. Hopefully in Season 2 we get to see the farm. I mean, yeah, I want to see the farm too. I'm very interested in what this place looks like. The farm, basically we hear two different opinions. The government characters all say, oh, it's a safe place. It's a safe haven where you can be yourself, walk among other people without being judged. That the government helps fund it, helps protect you, help keep you safe, and all the people who live there pretty much say like some horror stories that I don't like it there. There's like a lot of violent tension, a lot of animals, a lot of the villains live at the farm, and a lot of the creatures basically resort to killing one another to steal their stuff. It is not an ideal place, and in the comics there's a war that breaks out there. Shadow read the comics, so he probably knows exactly what happened. So, a furry con? Yeah, definitely. Okay, so, anyways, Toad Jr., I think he was pretty adorable. Pretty nice, sweet kid character. I wish Mr. Toad bought his damn glamour for him and his kid, but no, he didn't. Toad Jr. is actually the sweet, innocent kid. He, like, lives in a broken home. They try to trick you into thinking that his dad is abusive. Actually, no. One of his redeeming traits is he does love his son. Toad Jr. is a witness to a crime. He saw where the Crooked Man's gang dumped Lily's body. He went out swimming without a glamour, of course. He witnessed the gang dumping Lily's body into a lake. And he tells Snow White and the Big Bad Wolf this. It's very clear he's traumatized, and it's basically a morality choice. Do you comfort the kid or be a harsh detective adult towards him? Yeah, Toad Jr. saw them dump Lily's body and recognized the gang, tells them, like, basically alludes to Bloody Mary, a character you're eventually going to meet, and Toad Jr. becomes the sweet, innocent, shy kid character. Snow White and Bigby potentially can befriend him, you be nice to him. Snow White, like, bonds with him, sees his bug collection, and unfortunately, Toad Jr. gets sent to the farm, but he gives Snow White a going-away gift to remember their friendship, hinting that we might have seen them again if Season 2 happened earlier. So basically the farm is like those terrible boarding schools and say that they want to help children only to abuse them, like Provo Canyon in Utah. Yeah, that is the farm. Yeah, the farm is basically set up to be this idealized safe space, but really it's anything but. It is a prison. They do not help people. They keep them trapped there. Nobody's allowed to leave. Nobody listens to their complaints, their needs, and they all feel like it's survival of the fittest at the farm. Though, hilarious, if you look up pictures of what it looks like online, I saw, like, the lady with the boot house, the shoe house, is actually living there, too. That honestly kind of made me laugh. There's an actual farm there. It's like a farm-shaped hotel, and it's, like, where the animals live inside. Okay, so Toad Jr. I really like. I felt sorry for him. There's the option of, well, do you accept his goodbye gift and give it to Snow White? It's like, yeah, I always do. I don't want to be mean to the kid. He is not at fault for what his dumbass father's actions did to them. Yeah, Toad Jr., likable kid character. Going on to A tier. Next, let's do, Buffkin. Buffkin, the flying monkey, the assistant in the archives at the mayor's office. Buffkin also going on to A tier, and I do like him more than Snow White. This is Buffkin, a flying monkey helper who works at the mayor office. So Buffkin doesn't get involved in a lot of action. He's basically a video game helper, and yeah, I kind of like him. He has like a drinking problem. He's always drinking alcohol on the job, always screwing around and playing, but he's kept around because he's the only one who can decipher ancient language and cryptics in their texts. Yeah, Buffkin is a flying monkey, if you don't know, always flying around the office, always trying to steal Mayor Crane's alcohol. He drinks a lot, has a lot of funny lines. He's honestly pretty likable. It's kind of funny because I think he symbolizes this franchise perfectly. He's supposed to be this cute little fairy tale character, but he has a lot of demons in him, has a lot of problems drinking, doesn't take anything seriously, and cracking a lot of crass and dirty jokes, but it's just so funny. Jacksepticeye played the game. Oh, he did, okay. The farm got better when Rose Red took over. Okay, that is good. Unfortunately, this being a prequel, the farm is pretty much in a shit state. I like Toad Jr., he's so adorable. I chose to comfort the kid. As for, father, he's a bum, about on par with them bum fathers. You had seen old westerns that my parents grew up watching. Exactly, Chris. It was nice that Clementine's voice actress was Toad Jr., didn't recognize her, but thanks for letting me know. Yeah, Clementine voices Toad Jr. If you don't know, Clementine's voice actress voices a lot of cutesy kid characters in Telltale games. There's always a Clementine character in Telltale. There's, of course, Clementine, there's Toad Jr., there's Gortys from Tales from the Borderlands, and there's, Tiffany Fox. Yeah, Tiffany Fox is also a cute kid character they added. There's always like this cute, appealing innocent character. Like, there's always a kid that you can either treat nice or be a complete ass to. It does kind of lead to some funny interactions if you choose the dick options, but I usually like these characters, and Clementine voices like half of them. Do you know we could have had Rose Red in Disney? She was originally going to have a Disney movie, but was canceled. I did not know that. Yeah, I haven't kept up for Disney in a while, especially now that their quality's gone. But yeah, I did not know that. Okay, so, to wrap up, yeah, Buffkin is very useful, and he's the one who fixes the magic mirror, so very useful ally. Buffkin basically helps around the office, has some funny, snarky comments. I do love his immature sense of humor. Oh, that's a magic talisman. What does it do? Makes animals shit gold. Yeah, it just says that completely serious and stone-faced. Yeah, that's what it actually does. And to his credit, he does fix the magic mirror. Mayor Crane tries to destroy the magic mirror so the authorities can't track him, and Buffkin's actually the one putting all the pieces together. He finds out it's missing a piece, and you have to track down Crane because he has the missing fragment on him. But yeah, Buffkin, pretty hilarious ally, going on to A tier. Alright, I think this is our last co-worker at the office, Bluebeard. Bluebeard, voiced by Lee Everett, Dave Fennoy. Bluebeard, I'm gonna put him also onto A tier. I'll put him a bit lower, but he's pretty likable and funny too. Okay, this is Bluebeard. Yes, the infamous serial killer who murdered all his rich wives. Bluebeard has a job in the government. Because of course he does. Bluebeard has used all his money and wealth and riches to basically help back up the government. Bluebeard is a first-class citizen in Fabletown. He believes that just because he's rich, he has influence, he has power, and he can make demands for the government that they have to service him before anyone else. I'm not entirely sure what his job was around the office, but apparently Bluebeard was a huge financial backer for Fabletown, and this gives him a lot of authority and diplomatic immunity to basically do whatever he wants. Believe it or not, Lee Everett from The Walking Dead voices him, and you can really tell. Never heard of the fable Bluebeard. Really, 19 Chris, you didn't? Bluebeard is basically a fable based on the Gold Digger. He married a lot of rich women, then killed them. He was a male Black Widow. He would marry like a whole bunch of wives, all of them rich, all of them had treasure, all of them had gold. He would marry them all, kill them, then store their corpses in a dungeon down below. One day, one of his wives found out he killed like all his other wives, found his secret hidden skeleton closet, threatened to go get people to arrest him, called the authorities, but Bluebeard trapped her before she could escape. However, the woman basically outwitted him, using her mind and tricking Bluebeard into like allowing her one last request. She would spend her final moments giving one last prayer before she died, and Bluebeard reluctantly allowed her to do so before he would kill her. And this actually gave her time to contact the authorities, and they would show up and arrest him. She was basically biding her time, teaching women to use their brains to outsmart the brawn, basically. Yeah, Bluebeard showed her mercy, allowed her final prayer, and she padded out time until the authorities came and arrested him, showing that intelligence and acting smart in a dangerous situation is a useful lesson for children. His fairy tale is just called Bluebeard, yeah. I thought that Bluebeard is a pirate. I didn't know he was a serial killer. What is his fairy tale? Yeah, that kind of was his fairy tale. I believe in some iterations he was a pirate before he became a Black Widow serial killer. Yeah, he was a pirate and he got with the times and pirates women a different way and became a Black Widow serial killer. Basically kind of warning children of beware of who you marry and always think smart in a dangerous situation. Once again, these are kind of bleak depictions of these fairy tale characters. Yeah, Dave Fennoy voices him. Bluebeard voiced by Dave Fennoy, who also played Lee in The Walking Dead Telltale, and Lucius Fox in Arkham Knight and Batman Telltale. Yeah, Dave Fennoy, great voice actor, and honestly, this is a wildly different character from his Lee character. Bluebeard is the bad cop. He's rough, he's tough, he does not care, no nonsense, not thinking about anyone's feelings. He wants answers, wants the job done, and will do it by whatever means necessary. They try to kind of make him like a Sentinel Prime type of character. He doesn't know what he's doing and chooses the worst and most violent options. Bluebeard is introduced torturing Tweedledee in their interrogation room, and it's very clear that this is not the normal due process in Fabletown. Bluebeard's like threatening to cut him, holding a knife towards him, trying to torture and scare intel out of him, and Bluebeard is basically the bad angel on Bigby's shoulder. Bluebeard tells Bigby to take the violent options, to do the hard work, the hard tasks, basically the dirty work that people are too afraid to do, getting their hands dirty, and doing whatever it takes to complete your mission. And Bluebeard basically kind of acts as the bad cop influencing Bigby. He's there, he's always complaining to Snow White. He is completely hell-bent on getting Ichabod Crane for his punishment. Yeah, he wants Ichabod Crane to suffer, wants him to pay up, and Bluebeard thinks he has a lot of authority just because he's rich. He's the first-class citizen, that he has say in what politics happen, he has say in the mayor's office, and he has to know everything that's going on, kind of becoming the token evil teammate on your detective case. So he's kind of off-screen for a lot of moments, but Dave Fennoy definitely has the time of his life playing this character. He's like this over-the-top douchey character, but kind of a fun love-to-hate type of douche. He encourages Bigby to take violent options. He tries to help with the case, but wherever you go, he causes a mess. He, like, destroys stuff, threatens suspects, brutally manhandles people, and he wants the Crooked Man basically to be executed. He encourages Bigby to kill the Crooked Man, and even encourages his death at the Witching Well. So it's implied that Bluebeard wants to become mayor of Fabletown. Unfortunately, this is a lot of setup for Season 2. Great, now they're doing fairy tales we never heard of. There's a lot more coming soon. But yeah, Bluebeard, it's implied he wants to be mayor. He's forcing his will onto the people, forcing his way, doing whatever the heck he wants, and he was going to fight Snow White for leadership as deputy mayor. Unfortunately, this is never followed up on. It's kind of sidelined, and we see Bluebeard is still at the office talking with Snow White through the front door, but it's implied he hasn't let go of his ambitions, and that's kind of the end of his arc. If you choose the Bigby trial ending, you can actually threaten Bluebeard for all he's done, and it's kind of funny and satisfying seeing Bluebeard scared of Bigby now, but honestly I thought he was a good character, and Dave Fennoy definitely made him a lot more interesting. He gave him a lot more persona and a lot more hammy over-the-top moments, so I'll put him onto A tier. Alright, you want Grendel, okay. Grendel. Yep, this guy is Grendel, and I'm gonna put him also onto A tier. I might put him under Snow White, but he'll go above Toad Jr. Yeah, this is Grendel in his human form. Yeah, I could show you what he looks like on his Fable form. So I got Bloody Mary pulled up first. Yeah, here he is in his monster form, if you can't see it. Yeah, sorry, if you guys can't see the monster forms in the tier list, I was going to show you. Yeah, here he is. Yeah, this is Grendel. Kind of looks like Boogie Oogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's kind of weird seeing him. Here's a full-scale model if you want to see that. Yeah, it's kind of funny. He looks like Boogie Oogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I could not get that out of my head. This is Grendel, yes, from Beowulf. Grendel is one of the poor citizens of Fabletown who has a lot of beef with the government. He does not like Mayor Crane's leadership, and Snow White coming into power does not change that by much. Grendel is actually a pretty funny and interesting character, another douchebag character and an obvious red herring. More better than the 1999 Beowulf and 2007 film too. Yeah, they didn't get Crispin Glover in like an ugly graphic. Fun fact, this guy taught me how to swear when I was in middle school. Yeah, he definitely has a potty mouth on him. But he's pretty funny, honestly. Okay, so Grendel is one of the poor citizens of Fabletown who does not like how the government's been running things. Grendel's been showing up at the government office. You actually get a cameo of him in the first episode. He's pissed off that, oh, Bigby Wolf gets to cut ahead of line, and Bigby's like, oh, I work here. Oh, fine job you're doing. He doesn't like Mayor Crane, doesn't like Snow White, and really hates Bigby Wolf. And you see him again later. He's at the Trip Trap bar, drinking his woes away. He's friend with the bartender Holly, and actually friends with the woodsman from Little Red Riding Hood. They're drinking together. This is like a bar for fairy tales, and he picks a bar fight with Bigby. Basically, he has enough of Bigby Wolf's authority and bureaucracy, and decides he's going to fight the Big Bad Wolf, revealing his Oogie Boogie monster form, where he throws down with Bigby, and it's here where we get our first hint at how strong Bigby really is. It's technically our first boss fight. Bigby Wolf takes a beating, then he has enough, unlocking the first phase of his werewolf form, where you throw down with friggin' Grendel and have the option to rip his arm off. Yeah, you can rip off Grendel's arm just like Beowulf did in the Fable. I usually take the peaceful option because Grendel, we find out, is actually more of a well-rounded character than he was in the start. I love the fight between him and Bigby in the bar. Yeah, first boss fight, definitely epic and gives you a taste of what you're in for the rest of the game. This is like technically the first boss. He has a simple fight in the bar with Bigby Wolf, but then it escalates very quickly. You get Bigby in the first phase of his werewolf form, where he beats up Grendel badly, and you have the option to rip his arm off like Beowulf did. But in episode 2 onward, we actually get to see a nicer side to Grendel. Grendel slowly lightens up, starts cooperating with Bigby after you kick his ass, shows that he's actually been showing up to the office to file a missing persons report on Holly's sister. Holly is the bar owner. She's down here. We'll get to her next. Holly lost her sister Lily, and she wants Fabletown to find her. She's been missing for implied weeks to months, and the government is doing nothing, and Grendel and Holly have both been complaining to Snow White and Bigby to do something. You find out Holly was one of the murder victims. Lily. Lily was one of the murder victims. Lily was working as a prostitute, and her sister Holly wanted to save her from that life, but then she went missing. Lily was Mayor Crane's prostitute. She was the one glamming up to look like Snow White for him, and she unfortunately ended up dead. She was decapitated, and her body was dumped in the lake where Toad Jr. saw her, and her head, disguised as Snow White's, was left on the doorstep of Fabletown. I think we found our Telltale Eddie Brock. Or will we ever get Telltale Venom? Probably not. I wish we did. But Grendel actually starts loosening up, starts cooperating, and shows a nicer side towards Bigby when you work with him after you finally tell him that, oh, your sister is dead, Lily was killed. And Grendel at first complains. We find out he hates Woody more because the woodsman was secretly seeing the sister behind their back, and they have a friendship falling out. Grendel actually apologizes to Bigby for being an ass, and weirdly becomes the most supportive during the trial. He supports Bigby Wolf manhandling the Crooked Man, and calls for the Crooked Man's death, and yeah, basically your choices help shape the ending of this game, but it's very clear Grendel respects Bigby a lot more. It is a very nice and wholesome from enemies to friends kind of dynamic. I wish we did Monica. It would be cool to see Spider-Man Telltale game form. It would be. I like Grendel's sass. Yeah, it's pretty funny. This guy definitely has a potty mouth on him, and he makes a lot of snappy one-liners. He's pretty funny. I'm gonna put him onto 8 tier for that. Speaking of which, let's also have Holly. This is Holly, the bar owner of the Trip Trap. She is also friends with Grendel, and I will put her onto 8 tier. Holly is actually a troll glammed up to look like a sexy MILF character. Holly is the sassy bar owner and best friends with Grendel and the woodsman. She at first starts out kind of villainous, then as we get to know more about her, she starts showing a softer side, starts to actually open up to Bigby Wolf and show that she is a person, she does have feelings, she is just as relatable as the rest of the Fables are. Holly is a part of the trolls who are kind of seen as lower citizens. Ichabod Crane himself says, Ichabod Crane says very racist remarks towards trolls. We should have left them back in the homelands. Yeah, she's kind of a metaphor for a foreigner character. In that case, can Batman Telltale Season 3 feature the Justice League? Absolutely it should, especially with Dispatch showing that is plausible now. What is this? Oh, you don't know Anime Night? This is The Wolf Among Us. We're ranking all the characters from the video game. Yeah, welcome Anime Night. We're talking about The Wolf Among Us. We're honestly a pretty good fraction into the game. I like Holly. Holly, also kind of like Grendel, she starts out a bit rough, gruff, and kind of villainous. She encourages the bar fights. Then, when Bigby kicks Grendel's ass, she pours Bigby a drink and he takes the whole bottle. But we find out one of the murder victims is Holly's sister. Holly lost her sister, Lily. Lily fell into a bad crowd, had a bad life, and became a glamorized prostitute. She was Ichabod Crane's prostitute, cosplaying as Snow White in his deranged fantasies, and we find out she was the second murder victim. You tell Holly, she hosts a troll funeral for her sister, shows a softer side, and starts cooperating more and more with Bigby as you get to know her, and yeah, I grew to like her. Holly is honestly a pretty tragic character by the time we get to the end. She is calling for the Crooked Man's head along with Grendel, and yeah, these two definitely peas in a pod, really like them. Pretty funny jerk characters, and actually show a lot more of a softer side to them. Yeah, Holly, pretty awesome. I'll put her onto A. Troll racism. Yeah, the trolls are not seen as equals compared to the human fairy tales. I want to see Catwoman in Batman Telltale 3. What's the premise of this video game series? If you don't know Anime Nights, The Wolf Among Us is based off a comic series called Fables. It's about the fairy tales of fantasy moving into the real world, and it's a metaphor for immigration, political corruption, and basically classism and racism between citizens and the government. All the fairy tales are living crappy lives in New York City, and it's a big noir mystery / action series. We follow Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf in human form, who is trying to solve a murder mystery in Fabletown, finding out that there's this whole net of corruption underneath their city. I wonder what the vampires are like in this game. Yeah, strangely we never see them. It's implied they exist, but we don't get to see them. Yeah, it's a murder mystery with fairy tales living in New York City, disguised as ordinary humans and some who aren't. But yeah, you find out what's going on here. Somebody's killing fables slash fairy tales and leaving them death threats in their community, where Bigby is trying to find out who it is. You meet a lot of red herrings, a lot of obvious villains, and a lot of twist villains, and a lot of suspicious characters, trying to uncover what's going on here. Yeah, Holly, I like her. I'll put her on the A tier. She and Grendel, honestly, pretty likable characters and go through a lot of character development. I was kind of surprised. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. Alright, next we should do the Woodsman. Woody. Yeah, that's what they call him. This is the Woodsman from Little Red Riding Hood. Once one of the greatest heroes of Fables, now turned into a complete joke. The Woodsman is a fallen hero. He's the town drunk, the biggest friggin' loser in Fabletown, and a complete violent, pathetic wash-up. Okay, I like his character progression, but I might have to put him onto B tier. Better than Ichabod Crane for sure, but just barely. I think Fables are immortal, are they? Fables cannot be killed very easily. It kind of follows Hazbin Hotel rules. They can die, but they'll respawn. And unfortunately, they can only die permanently if they're dropped down the Witching Well, which is basically their Phantom Zone. Like, no one can escape from the Witching Well. You are effectively dead and non-existent. Or if they're not a popular enough fable or Mother Goose fairy tale, then they will die. As long as people know who these characters are or remembers them, they are effectively immortal. But those who aren't, yeah, they're permadead. If you're an obscure fairy tale or fable that nobody remembers or is too obscure, if you die, you are gone for good. Fables are immortal. The more fans they have, the more powerful they are. Exactly. That's the whole thing. Thank you, Shadow. This sounds like a dark version of Once Upon a Time. Pretty much is Anime Night. That's what everybody's been describing it as. Okay, so this is the Woodsman, the big bad wolf's archenemy, and hilariously this game completely flips the script. Now, the big bad wolf is a hero, and the Woodsman is a villain. At least he starts out that way. The Woodsman is the first guy you ever fight in this game. Yeah, I guess I was kind of wrong. Grendel is not the first boss fight. He's the end of the first episode boss fight. Woody is pretty much your actual first warm-up boss. Woody is actually this pathetic, washed-up loser who cannot get over that he's not famous anymore, that people don't like him, that some people don't even recognize who he is. Woody is the town drunk. He hangs out at the Trip Trap bar, basically has fun with his buddies. He has amounted to nothing after his fairy tale, has fallen on hard times, become an abuser of prostitutes. He has to pay the prostitute Faith to have sex with him, but when she doesn't know who he is, he completely loses it and starts this domestic squabble up in Mr. Toad's apartment, and he's the first boss fight you fight. He has his super duper powerful axe made of solid steel, which was capable of hurting the big bad wolf. Yeah, you actually play as the wolf fighting the Woodsman. He's the first fight you have, and they both survive falling out of a 5-story building and onto Mr. Toad's car. No worse for wear. You beat up Woody and he gets away, but it's very clear he's set up to be a red herring. He was threatening Faith earlier because he paid for her services and had a violent fight with her, making him seem like the obvious prime suspect. You meet Woody again later at the bar, and he's sobered up, a lot happier, but then he has to confront Bigby Wolf for questioning, and honestly, it takes a really dark turn when you find out Woody was not actually a good guy. He never was. The Woodsman was actually planning to rob an old lady's house the entire time. He was working up the nerve, been scoping out Grandma's house for weeks, and when he finally got the nerve to do it, he found the big bad wolf threatening that little girl, Little Red Riding Hood. Yeah, the Woodsman jumped into the house because he wanted to rob and loot an old lady because she couldn't fight back. Then he ended up becoming an accidental hero, fighting the Big Bad Wolf and saving Little Red Riding Hood from Bigby. He cut him open with an axe, filled his belly full of stones, and threw him in the river like the original interpretation of the tale. And through that act of evil, he actually became a hero, worshipped by everyone. Everybody praised him. Little Red Riding Hood loved him. Grandma praised him as a defender. And he actually got set for life for a while. And then, once they moved over to New York, his life hit rock bottom, fell on hard times. He is a prime example of never meet your heroes. They're not the saints you make them out to be. Yeah, Fables are immortal. Well, Once Upon a Time mixed with the Grimm series, yeah, very much. They allude to a lot of the original designs of the fairy tales. Woody sees Bigby fight Grendel, and he tries to run away, where you have the option, arrest the Woodsman or Tweedledee. I always choose Tweedledee because it's kind of painfully obvious the Woodsman is not the guy we're hunting for, and Tweedledee kind of looks like the worst guy in the episode. I usually pick him, but if you arrest the Woodsman, then he gets interrogated. But halfway through the game, we find out Woody is trying to get his life back on track. He actually hired Holly's sister Lily as a prostitute, then kept it secret from them this whole time, which, yeah, Grendel and Holly were justifiably pissed at him. Woody gets basically exiled by his own friends, has to find himself, and weirdly, he actually gets a redemption arc. Yeah, in episode 4, the Woodsman wants his axe back. His apartment was looted while he was on the run. He wants his rare axe back, and you fight the Jersey Devil together, where the Big Bad Wolf and Woody double team the Jersey Devil in this really cool epic fight scene. It is honestly a pretty fun fight. I love this moment in the game. The Woodsman and the Big Bad Wolf double team the Jersey Devil. It is really wicked, really badass, and has a lot of epic fight scenes, a lot of epic options. You could literally beat the Jersey Devil with an anvil, and Woody helps you interrogate Jersey, and he gets his axe back, where they actually leave on pretty good terms, though this is unfortunately why he's pretty low. They do not fully resolve his arc. It's hinted that the Woodsman is going to be in the second game. He decides he's leaving town to go find himself. We all have a role in this story, and my duty is to find mine. He actually ends on peaceful terms with Bigby Wolf, and they go their separate ways. The Woodsman leaves town to find himself, hinting that we'll see him in a sequel, while Bigby Wolf goes back to solving the case, but is now on much better terms with his former archenemy. It's honestly a pretty nice ending, which is why he does win some points. Unfortunately, yeah, he does have some huge ass moments, and unlike Grendel and Holly, they are not justified, and his arc is still kind of unresolved. It's implied he's going to become an actual good guy, redeem himself, find a better purpose in life, but they leave the door open for a sequel game. The Woodsman is an okay guy, and yes, clearly a red herring, but I kind of like their rival/friends relationship between him and Bigby. Yeah, that's kind of why he's fun. I think he's a pretty interesting character, but I wish they did a lot more with him. For now, he'll go on to B tier. Hopefully we'll see him again in the sequel title. Alright, next. I want to end on a high note, so I don't want to do some of these characters, but some I will. I will get off the magic mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Tell me about the Fables all. The mirror also going on to B tier. Yeah, this one's kind of hard to define. I'll put him above the Woodsman at least. This one's kind of hard to define because, yeah, the magic mirror is, you know, stuck on the wall. This is the magic mirror directly from Snow White, and basically, he's your chat GPT, your AI assistant. He helps the Fables find information, find people, spy on your enemies, that kind of stuff. You have to talk to him in rhyme, and it leads to some funny interactions if you don't choose the rhyme options. Does that mean Tweedledee or Dumb died because no one remembered him, or Faith or Lily? Yeah, that's kind of weird. You would think Dumb would be back, but they hint that he's actually perma-dead. Or the Crooked Man. Yeah, I think the Crooked Man would die. Or Georgie. Georgie, I'm sure, is dead because not a lot of people remember the Georgie Porgy poem. That's a pretty big reason why this is a great game. Lots of these characters are different than you remember, and that's what makes them unique. Yeah, they are. They are. Okay, the Magic Mirror, honestly pretty funny. Reminds me of the Magic Mirror from Shrek. He has like snarky moments here and there, but he's kind of the closest to his actual fantasy counterpart. He shows you what you want to see, helps you track down suspects and fables, and unfortunately the Magic Mirror is taken out halfway through the game, and you have to save his life, put him back together, find all the pieces of the broken mirror, and when you do, it helps Bigby and Snow crack the mystery much faster. He's not entirely a character, but more so a plot device, which is why he's going down low, but I do like his design. We'll give him a B. Yeah, great point. Alright, so you want to talk about some villainous fables, huh? Alright. We'll bump off Georgie. Yeah, this is Georgie. Your love-to-hate villain. Okay. Georgie, also pretty funny. A lot more funnier than Ichabod Crane. You know, I might actually put him low onto A tier. This is Georgie Porgy, the pimp slash owner of the strip club Puddin' and Pie. The Pudding and Pie is a Disney princess theme stripper club. Yeah, it's a bar, it's a joint hangout, and you get to see your favorite Disney princesses as prostitutes. One of them being the Little Mermaid, and one of them being the character we meet, the first murder victim, Faith. Georgie Porgy is the biggest pimp in town, and he is completely in the back pocket of the Crooked Man. He's basically another obvious suspect of who murdered the prostitutes and who's behind this. He's this foul-mouthed, low-life thug. He's kind of like Manchester Black, honestly. This evil, smug British dude who always has a crass remark, always snarking at Bigby Wolf. He's Georgie Porgy, I believe. His fairy tale is really, really obscure, but he's basically this douchebag pimp. Bigby deals with him, tries to force him to rat out some information, but you get through him to talk to Nerissa and Faith most of the time. Sorry, catch them on comments. That's a pretty big reason why this is a great game. Lots of these characters are different than you remember, and that's what makes them unique. Yeah. Basically, it's you're ruining your childhood, the bar. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you see your favorite Disney princesses at a strip club, and yes, they confirmed Little Mermaid is actually here doing a stripper dance. There's your R rating, kids. Yeah, you get to see Ariel nude doing a stripper dance. Faith and Lily work here, and it's implied other Disney princesses work here. You get to, like, go through the cabinets and see some Disney references hinting that, yeah, a certain princess or two might be here. I think Gretel from Hansel and Gretel is also here. Don't worry, she is legal because Hans works here. But yeah, Georgie, pretty much a funny, love-to-hate character. He's like the Penguin from Batman the Telltale series, just this smug, arrogant prick who you have fun knocking him off his high horse every time. You get to punch Georgie, break his bar, threaten him. Georgie is actually in the back pocket of the Crooked Man, and it's confirmed he did kill the prostitutes, but on the Crooked Man's orders. Yeah, Georgie basically owns and manages the slave women, the prostitutes, the glamour workers, and the witches the Crooked Man keeps under his thumb. He is a top enforcer who basically helps be the face and micromanager for the Crooked Man's businesses. He sells the prostitutes, he's the one giving them drugs, having men basically buy a room with them, sends them to like this hotel that Beauty is also working at, and keeps track of the girls. He is very clearly an obvious suspect, but throughout the game it's very clear he is not strong. He is not a powerful man. He's very clearly a weak coward, but he's protected by the Crooked Man. Prince Charming from Once Upon a Time went to my high school before me. I actually got to meet him when our drama teacher retired. Oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, Georgie, honestly, I really love to hate this character. He reminds me a lot of Manchester Black from Superman vs. the Elite. The voice, the outfit, the cocky British arrogance he has. Pretty funny character, honestly, and you do get to beat him up, so if you want to, feel free. But believe it or not, what puts him onto A tier is his ultimate fate. After everything's exposed, the Crooked Man's agency unravels, Georgie is thrown under the bus. The Crooked Man completely abandons him and pins it all on him, and he tries to take out Bigby Wolf only to get wounded in self-defense. Yeah, Georgie confesses he did kill those girls, but it was either them or him. The Crooked Man told him he had to do it, otherwise he'd be the one that would be made an example of. Georgie gets mortally wounded by the fight. Bigby Wolf turns into a werewolf, claws his guts, he's bleeding out, and he and Vivian retreat where you track him down, and when you get to the strip club, you find him pathetic, bleeding out, losing himself, dying, and it's here where we find out Georgie and Vivian are just more of the Crooked Man's slaves. They didn't want to be evil, they wanted to start their own legitimate business. Yeah, a legitimate strip club, basically, but yeah, they wanted to be their own people. They fell in with the Crooked Man, and basically are feeling his wrath just as much as the victims are. Vivian has a change of heart, and she ends up killing herself to set the prostitutes free, while Georgie finally betrays the Crooked Man, tells Bigby where he's at, where to find him. The old factory is his prime base, and you get the option to either mercy kill Georgie or let him bleed out and suffer. I actually choose the mercy kill because, yeah, it's honestly kind of tragic how far he's fallen from this smug prick to a pathetic loser, licking the Crooked Man's boots and still getting betrayed. It's actually a very sad and tragic scene, but yeah, Georgie can be mercy killed or left to suffer longer as he's bleeding out. I usually choose mercy kill because, yeah, best to get it over with. But yeah, Georgie dies a pathetic used pawn, suffering for his crimes after years of serving the Crooked Man. And it's kind of a tragic way for him to go out, but honestly made him seem a lot more well-rounded than he initially started. So I'm going to put him onto A tier. Since you did Georgie, can you do Vivian? Alright, we will. Alright, here's Vivian. Vivian is the prostitute's caretaker. I will put her above Georgie at least, but unfortunately I do have to put her low on the A tier because she's not an important character until the finale. Vivian is Georgie's his girlfriend. She's the hostess of the strip club and Georgie's right-hand woman. It turns out she's a Fable. You're led to believe that she might be a normal human, but no, she's the girl with the ribbon. If you don't know, it's also an obscure fairy tale. The girl wore this magic ribbon around herself and it kept her pretty, kept her glamorous, and if you ever took it off, it would kill her. Yes, really. It turns out Vivian constructed this magic ribbon which always keeps them pretty and keeps people from telling their secrets, including her own. Vivian is the woman with a ribbon around her neck. Yep, might as well do Vivian next. We are. Georgie feels like a character you'd see in GTA game than this. Yeah. Just came back from the Digital Circus episode. I want to know those things now. What's the fairy tale? I believe it's just called The Girl with the Ribbon. Okay, didn't know about that fable. It's a pretty crazy story. But yeah, if she ever removed this ribbon, she would die. It was like a story about how women bind themselves with secrets, and like the ribbon kept her beautiful or something. Yeah, it's a pretty disturbing fable, because yeah, if you ever take the ribbon off, you die. And we find out the magic ribbon is the murder weapon. She gave this ribbon to all their prostitutes, all the women who were working for her and Georgie, and the Crooked Man re-engineered this into a weapon. It kept you silent. They always say, these lips are sealed if you ask them about their private life, about their secrets. They're not allowed to tell and divulge much information. She was the one who made this. It was turned into a weapon and turned into a symbol of oppression because these women were not allowed to speak. It kept them basically as hostages under the Crooked Man and Georgie. And if you remove the ribbon, you die. This is how the prostitutes were killed. Taking off the ribbon beheads you. Yeah, that is how they die. Take off this ribbon and your head falls off. This is basically how the girl with the ribbon died in her fairy tale. The ribbon kept her head leveled, kept it on straight, and yeah, if these prostitutes and Disney princesses remove these ribbons, it'll sever their head and they fall over dead. It killed Faith and it killed Lily, and Vivian, cornered by Bigby, finally tells you the truth. She came here to start a new life and completely regrets her decisions. She is drowning in guilt, drowning in remorse, does not like herself, does not like the decisions she and Georgie have made, and Vivian kills herself. Vivian takes off her ribbon, severing her head, and it frees all the prostitute slaves, all the ones who aren't dead. The spell is broken. The ribbon is gone because she has the original, and it breaks the spell. They're allowed to talk, they're allowed to be free, and they can live without the ribbon around their neck choking them out. Vivian pretty much redeems herself by killing herself out of complete guilt and paying the ultimate price for her sins, releasing the prostitutes in a final gesture of kindness. However, her death completely breaks Georgie because apparently Vivian and Georgie were actually lovers. She's like the one person Georgie actually cared for, which again makes both their deaths together all the more tragic. Yeah, that took a pretty dark turn, but a noble sacrifice. Yeah, take notes, It Chapter 2. This is how you do a heroic suicide. Yeah, she killed herself to free all their slaves. She imprisoned them in the first place. She makes it clear she didn't mean to. It was supposed to be a way to prevent them from talking about their private business, prevent them from giving too much intel. These lips are sealed. They can't tell you who they had sex with, keep clients safe, that kind of stuff. But the Crooked Man was the one who remade it into a weapon that, oh, I can kill you at any time if you ever speak out. The ribbon will kill you automatically. If you ever take it off, it severs your head. And that's how Lily died, because Crane is stupid. Yep. Crane took off the ribbon because he couldn't stand her wearing it, and yeah, Lily died while they were making love. Really gruesome scene, honestly. Okay, didn't know that about the Fable. Yeah, in the original Fable, the ribbon kept her head on. The girl wore the ribbon because if she ever took it off, she'd literally lose her head. Yeah, the ribbon was basically how secrets help women, that secrets are a fatal thing to have, that kind of stuff. That was kind of the idea behind the story, because she wouldn't let anyone take the ribbon off, acted like she was hiding something, and she was, because it literally kept her alive. Her secrets would literally kill her in the fairy tale, and ultimately in The Wolf Among Us, they end up killing her here too. So basically like Pearl from Steven Universe with not telling Steven about Rose Quartz Pink Diamond. Kind of, except she would completely die on the spot if she took her inhibitor off. Yeah, that took a pretty dark turn, but a noble sacrifice. Yeah, this is how you do a noble suicide, It Chapter 2. She actually feels bad for what she did and leads to pretty much the most tragic death scene. She dies so she could free all her prostitutes, and Vivian's act of kindness helped lead to the defeat of the Crooked Man. So yeah, she wins points for that. Unfortunately, she's only on A tier because as great as that character arc is, she is pretty much a background character for 4 episodes straight. She's there, she tends to the prostitutes, she does show up at Lily's funeral showing she did feel guilt, and she basically acts as Georgie's hot girl. She's there on his side until the final episode reveals that, oh, she was the one that actually created the power held over these girls. But yeah, I'll put her on to A tier. Pretty tragic death scene and a pretty great idea. Going on to A tier. Alright, next, I can't believe we missed out on Faith, but you know I might have to save her for last. Alright, let's bump off another henchman. Let's do Tweedledee and Tweedledum. No, I'm D. That's dumb. Alright, Tweedledee and Tweedledum also might have to go on to B tier. Yeah, I'll put them under the Woodsman at least. These two, pretty much the exact same character, if I'm being honest. These are the Tweedles, yes, from Alice in Wonderland. Tweedledee and Tweedledum are set up like they're amateur detectives, and it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that, no, they're evil as hell. Tweedledee and Tweedledum are the Crooked Man's thugs for hire. They're enforcers. They tried to run a legitimate business, only to become hired flunkies for the Crooked Man. The Tweedles are set up like they're helping Bigby that, oh no, Bigby, we're also trying to crack this case, but no, they kind of betray Bigby first chance they get. As soon as, like, you're questioning Tweedledee, no, I'm D, that's dumb, and dumb KOs Bigby and they get away. Yeah, very obvious villains for sure. That was kind of my problem. These two do not ever act innocent once. It's very clear that they're evil. They're also obvious red herrings. It's very clear they're involved in this murder case, but they're not the brains of the operation. The Tweedles are basically two hired henchmen. I wouldn't exactly call them the Goldar and Rito Repulso of the show, but that's what they kind of felt like. About as worst as the Tibbles from Arthur on PBS, yep. Aren't these guys technically good guys in the fairy tale? It's kind of funny, because in a lot of media, the Tweedles are always depicted as villains. No, really, they were just kind of unhelpful advisors to Alice. But yeah, in the game, they're both evil fairy tales, and Tweedledum, he gets no character. He is basically a goon. He has the same persona as his brother. Tweedledee is the one who does most of the talking. He is the one always up front. Dumb, like, repeats what his brother says half the time, exactly like the fairy tale. But yeah, these guys, obviously evil. You find out they're not the main villains, but they're working for the main villain. They try to interfere with Bigby's case, try to threaten him, cause a shootout at the troll funeral, basically make things a lot more worse. They pretend they're rational people, but no, they're evil, insane maniacs. They have that really awesome boss fight with Bigby in his wolf form. You have the shootout behind the strip club where Bigby goes wolf mode, and this is their biggest importance. You have the option to kill Tweedledum. Bigby, in full wolf form, absolutely wrecks them, has a vicious boss fight with them, throws them against the Crooked Man's car, and Dumb is completely at your mercy where you can kill him. I honestly always take the option to kill him, because yeah, I'm not letting this guy basically get away with all the evil he's done, and knowing that leaving villains alive in Telltale games almost always comes back to bite you. But yeah, Tweedledum can die. You rip his friggin' throat out and leave him for dead, and yeah, kind of confusing, because the Tweedles are actually high-profile Fable characters, so wouldn't he come back? These two remind me of the two brothers from that farm that was doing cannibalism in the Walking Dead game. Yeah, they kind of look like it. They kind of do. Yeah, Tweedledee kind of has Andy's face, but a lot more fatter and stretched out. And they're both incredibly slimy individuals. I do kind of like the banter they have, which is why I'm going to put them onto B. They do have a funny banter with Bigby Wolf, always acting like they're smarter than him and always repeating the end of each other's sentences. That's just kind of fun writing to me. But yeah, they're basically obviously evil thugs, and you can kill Tweedledum, that's his most importance, and D just kind of shows up in the background for the rest of the game, which is why they're gone into B tier. They're okay, but not the best thing ever, but also not the worst. I do like twin henchmen, so I'll put them onto low B tier. I believe Fables can kill each other. I know they can, Shadowlink. What I'm asking is, do they stay dead? Because Tweedledee and Tweedledum are actually big fairy tale characters. I think most people will remember the twins from Alice in Wonderland. Like, will Tweedledum stay dead? That's what I'm kind of asking. I know Fables can permanently die, but Tweedledum, like, dies at the hands of another Fable, and he's popular enough to respawn like a lot of them do. Which doesn't make sense because you say, if you remember them, they won't die. Yeah, that's also kind of confusing. That's also kind of why I chose the kill him option, because aren't the Tweedles also well known, especially in Alice in Wonderland? But yeah, I figured he'd be back, but no, Dumb stays dead, and It's implied the Tweedles were gonna come back in season 2 because they're the minions who aren't arrested, but they're not in good shape by the end. Tweedledee ends up getting shanked in whatever ending you choose, and that's kind of the end of them. The Crooked Man and Bloody Mary take over as the main villains. Let's do Jersey Devil next. Okay. Alright, the Tweedles going on to beats here. They're alright. Alright, guys, I do have to use my first restroom break, but cast your vote on who you want to see next. Actually making pretty good progress. Do you want to see the Jersey Devil, Colin, Beauty and the Beast, or one of the obscure characters that caught your eye? I'll be right back. Cast your vote down low. Alright, I'm back. Let's see what you guys vote for. Jersey Devil, do Flycatcher, Jersey Devil. Okay, it looks like Jersey Devil's winning. They are immortal in a sense that they do not age. The Black Forest Witch says that she doesn't believe in the if you're popular, you're powerful. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, let's do it. The Jersey Devil, one of the best enforcers of the Crooked Man's army. I love the Jersey Devil character. He is going on to S tier. Easily one of my favorite bosses in the entire game. This is Jersey, short for the Jersey Devil. This is his human form, and honestly, it kind of reminded me of Stan Lee, especially with the face and glasses. Yeah, he did kind of remind me of Stan Lee, though also kind of looks like Joaquin Phoenix's character from Her. It's kind of funny. He looks like this middle-aged citizen. He's not very buff, but he hides his muscle underneath his glamour form. The Jersey Devil is one of the Crooked Man's most vicious enforcers, next to a certain other girl we'll get to later, and he has one of the best boss fights in the game. Jersey Devil's shop is a front for the Crooked Man's trading area. He runs a pawn shop, the Lucky Pawn, and you go here to interrogate him, finding out that, oh, he is completely in cahoots with the Crooked Man. Jersey is, of course, being a Jersey character, has a Jersey accent, acts like a complete ass, and always swears and cusses a lot, and is very anger prone. Yeah, he lives up to the Jersey and Devil half of his title. This is his glamour form. I can show you what he looks like, because honestly, this is why he's S tier. It's pretty cool. Hang on, just typing. Yeah, his glamour form is so awesome. I really love it. Yeah, here he is. Here's the Jersey Devil in his unmasked form, his unglam form. It is cool. He looks like a Wendigo. Oh, picture's so small. Sorry about that. Yeah, make sure I get a good one for you guys. Yeah, here you go. This is what the Jersey Devil looks like. Kind of this Wendigo-looking beast, and this is one of the coolest boss fights in the game. You arrive at the Lucky Pawn to interrogate Jersey. He's unhelpful to you until Woody shows up because he has his battle axe. Yeah, here he is in the final option. You can shut him up, hear him out, or just leave. He looks so cool. I really love this design for the character, and he had like one of the sweetest boss fights ever. He decides to fight the big bad wolf and the woodsman together in his pawn shop, leading to one of the best boss fights ever. That's Grendel. And really love his scary voice too. This guy had a really creepy demonic growl to him. Yeah, look pretty sick, doesn't he? He has one of the best fights in the game. Absolutely burning Exceeder. It is awesome. I might play The Wolf Among Us after I do Pokemon Many Types 1 and 2. Okay, Shadow, please do. It is a great game. Love this double team Big B and Woody did on Jersey in his shop. Yeah, love his design too. Yeah, this is why he's S tier. Look at this monster form. That is sick. That is awesome. The Wolf Among Us did a Wendigo before Pet Cemetery did. He looks so cool, and one of the best boss fights in the game, the Big Bad Wolf and Woodsman double team the Jersey Devil. You fight him, he claws you, he jumps at like far spaces, he claws into Big B Wolf, tries to bite your head off, and you can beat him up with an anvil. Yeah, there's like a locksmith's anvil in the office, and you can like ram it on his head. That is just insane. It is fun. Also, Jersey Devil reminds me of Alistair because of the Wendigo and deer symbolisms. Yeah, that is true, Monica. I can see that, though. They clearly go for more of a Wendigo look with that, especially that skull. He's the Jersey Devil, a vicious monster. He's a demon walking among us, and honestly, he is like one of the highlights of this game. I like his personality too, his evil, vicious growl. "Aw, oh, that's cute. Trying to save your friend like you saved those two dead whores." Always taunting Bigby. He has a real mouth on him, trying to get the best of the sheriff and throw him off, but no, leads to a satisfying double team fight where you pound his skull in. Love the double team. Yeah, Big B and Woody did on Jersey in the shop. Love his design too. Monster form, epic. He has one of the best fights in the game. Absolutely. Also, Jersey in his Fable form sounds like Carnage from Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Yeah, they give him like this voice filter that echoes his voice. Yeah, it does sound like a Spider-Man villain. He sounds like Carnage. He is awesome. Unfortunately, he's like an enforcer of the game. One of an awesome boss fight. You beat him up, interrogate him, and he reveals that, yeah, the Crooked Man is behind this, and he tells him that the Crooked Man is gonna win because he owns this town, realizing that he's foreshadowing the twist that, yeah, the Crooked Man is kind of untouchable, and Bigby Wolf will not outsmart him. But of course, he's proven wrong when you get there. Tragically, Jersey Devil is kind of underutilized in the finale. He's one of the Crooked Man's inner circles. He's ready to throw down with the Big Bad Wolf, sitting in the council room, and you have one last boss fight with him when the Crooked Man's gang turns on you and tries to jump you. You beat him up, and that's weirdly kind of the end. I think they imply he's dead, but he could be alive because the Tweedles were alive. It's left kind of ambiguous if Jersey was beaten up fatally in the Crooked Man's lair, and we never see him again because Crooked Man and Bloody Mary become the endgame villains. But yeah, going on to S tier, this character is awesome. Epic boss fight, epic voice, great performance, and I love that he has this unsuspecting, unassuming appearance. He looks like this regular old guy you see on the streets, but no, he's actually secretly this beast. Really awesome character, easily S tier. We found a voice actor for Telltale Carnage. Yeah, he should do it. Ever want to do a tier list on Dispatch characters? Haven't finished playing it. I know, where have I been this whole time? Sorry, I would love to do it. I just gotta actually play the game. It's one of those on my list of games to play. Yeah, sorry, I replayed The Wolf Among Us, and I finally 100%ed Lego Harry Potter. Yeah, those were the games I chose, but yeah, maybe when I play Dispatch. Also, Jersey... Oh, I read that one. And Gren's glamour form sounds like Venom from Spectacular Spider-Man. We are poison to both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. We are Venom. I haven't gotten around to Dispatch yet either. Me too, Shadow. Glad I'm not alone. But yeah, Jersey Devil, awesome boss fight, fun character, really love to hate him, going on to S tier. He has one hell of a time. Alright, next, I think I'll bump off Jack. This is Jack Horner. Jack, I believe from Jack and the Beanstalk. He's our first C tier character. Yeah, sorry, Shadow, but Jack is not likable in this game. He's supposed to be kind of this Han Solo-esque character. He's a lovable scoundrel, a rogue. He's really a con man and a very mouthy, annoying one. This is Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, and weirdly, Jack has grown into this smart mouth con artist, always trying to make money, always trying to give people the slip, and thinks very highly of himself ever since he slayed that giant. I've started so many Let's Plays and haven't finished any. Shadow, you gotta get on it. Highly recommend The Wolf Among Us, only 5 episodes, and the last one is like under an hour and 30 minutes. I myself haven't played Dispatch yet either, heard it's good. Yeah, I heard it's really good, and a lot of my friends love it, recommend it. Has their new favorite superhero waifu in it, now I gotta play it. But yeah. Okay, this is Jack. He's sadly not that important of a character in this actual game. He's, believe it or not, a very vital protagonist in the Fables comics, and kind of here because he's important in the comic. Jack is more or less a background character. He's your rat, your snitch. Bigby goes to him for information. He can tell you a few clues or stuff you don't know about the game yet. Bigby encounters him at the Trip Trap bar. He's always in the unemployment line asking for welfare and money. He annoys a lot of the characters. You could actually hilariously throw him out of Holly's bar. You meet him in Crane's apartment. Jack is trying to loot the place, and he gives you intel, revealing that, he knows the witch that Ichabod Crane was seeing, Auntie Greenleaf. She's here in New York, and that's kind of what his role amounts to. He's your snitch. You interrogate him, he tells you intel, and you can make a deal with him, implying that he was going to play an important part later, but yeah, it's kind of the end of him. I don't even see him show up at the Crooked Man's trial. He's here because he's important in the Fables comics, and they wanted to answer where he was in the events of this game. Dispatch is basically R-rated Marvel, the R-rated Marvel you always wanted. Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. Now, part of me wants to see the giant in this universe. If there's a Jack in this game, I don't know, maybe for a second season. Yeah, second season has only shown the Wizard of Oz gang are in it. Yes, you did not mishear that. The Wizard of Oz gang. Bigby Wolf is fighting evil Dorothy, evil Scarecrow, and the Tin Man. It does look like pretty awesome stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it, but yeah. Apparently giants and trolls do exist here. Jack has pretty much become like a second woodsman, always wearing his success, acting like he's still a big deal, but really he's kind of nothing now. He's going on to C tier. I would have liked him if we explored him a bit more, but no, he's kind of just this comic relief side villain going on to C. Cat, did you collect any money in the game? Talking about Lego Wolf Among Us? Yeah, I stole a lot of money. Stole it from Georgie, stole it from Crane. I did pay Faith for her prostitution, and I did make the choice to give Mr. Toad the money for his glamour, which he didn't use. Stupid moron. Dorothy got bloodlust after killing the Wicked Witch, apparently. Yeah, they showing that the villains might be the Wizard of Oz gang. Dorothy, Gale, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow are gang Bigby fights in it, and it looks pretty cool. They're showing off the gameplay and graphics in it. Sadly, none of the point-and-click stuff yet, which makes me curious what it's gonna play like. She does that again, I'll eat her face. Love Carnage. Okay, so, yeah, Jack going on to C tier. Speaking of which, let's do Dr. Swinehart, voiced by David Kaye. Yes. This is Dr. Swinehart from the Three Army Surgeons fairy tale. Yeah, I also don't know it much either. They're apparently these expert doctors who are so good they can do surgery on themselves. You know, I actually might put him on to A. Yes. Yeah, believe it or not, David Kaye voices this guy. He uses a watered-down version of his Professor X voice from X-Men Evolution, and, you know, I kind of like him. Dr. Swinehart is much nicer in the game than he is in the comic books. He's this well-mannered, polite doctor. He's the medic of Fabletown, giving you surgery. He helps Bigby Wolf heal from his injuries, has these funny wisecracks here and there, and honestly, that's kind of what amounts to his character. He's the medic that helps Bigby and Snow White a lot. Are they ever going to release the sequel? We've been asking that for years, Shadow. We've been waiting for The Wolf Among Us 2 for, gosh, like 10 years at this point. It was supposed to come out earlier, but then Telltale wanted to do Batman and Game of Thrones. Dr. Swinehart is the greatest doctor ever. Yeah, that shows in the game. He's a medic, and believe it or not, a lot nicer than he is in the comics. He's, again, kind of like David K's Professor X, this very nice, very welcome doctor with a very astounding first-class bedside manner. He's nice to Bigby, treats him, tells Bigby to take it easy, and cracks a joke here and there. Honestly, really like him. He's easily the most kind-hearted adult character in this game. I'm gonna put him onto A tier, because also David K made him this warm grandfather character. If you don't know, he's from the 3 Army Surgeons fable. These were medical soldiers who were so good at surgery that they could even do surgery on themselves. Basically had the greatest medical skills in the entire universe. And appropriately, he's the head doctor of Fabletown, treating Fables both human and animal. And yeah, I know he doesn't do much, but I like him. I'll put him on A tier. Very nice, wholesome character who actually can become friends with Bigby Wolf. Yeah, he's cool. Gonna put him onto A. David K, you did it again. Yes. They have all that time and they didn't give us a Spider-Man game. Yeah, they were trying to milk more popular IPs. They did a Batman game, did a Borderlands game, did a Game of Thrones game, which has now been delisted because HBO Max sucks, and they did a Minecraft game. Oh no, they did 2 Minecraft games. Unfortunately, I did play them, and if I do a Telltale ranking, boy, do I have some stuff to tell you. What will we get first? Wolf Among Us 2 or Grand Theft Auto 6? I'm hoping Wolf Among Us 2 because that's been on wait for too long. Grand Theft Auto 6, from the sound of it, Rockstar has to completely rework the game because it apparently was going to feature a lot of BLM stuff and politics, and nobody wants that in a GTA game. Love the animation in this game, makes it look like a living comic, very noir, and more noir than LA. Yeah. I know what you're referencing. Sorry, catch up on comments. What will we get for... I read that one. They should have made a Telltale Spider-Man game, but they made Guardians of the Galaxy before Spider-Man. Let that sink in. Even weirder, Thanos is in that game and you get to kill him off early. Okay, let's do Flycatcher next. Okay, a lot of people love Flycatcher. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put him on to B, but I'll put him on a very high B. This is Flycatcher, the Frog Prince, now a lowly janitor forced to serve Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Flycatcher was trying to get employment with the government and he's been rejected like a million times. Now he's working as a janitor, basically doing odd jobs around Fabletown anywhere he can get. The Tweedles hired him full-time as their cleaning guy. He, believe it or not, is actually a frog prince. That's not a hat he's wearing, that's actually his real head. Yeah, he's the Frog Prince, the one who married Princess Tiana. This is the guy. The Frog Prince has fallen on very hard times. You explore the Tweedles' office, try to interrogate them, only to find him cleaning there as he's the night crew. And Flycatcher reveals his sob story that he's one of the many down on their luck citizens, and you can actually be nice to him, show him kindness, and get him a new job at the government. And yeah, I do like, you can give this guy a happy ending. Unfortunately, he is a bit character. He is barely present in the game, which is why he's kind of low. Yeah, sorry, it is kind of a lack of screen time, and I feel like they didn't give him enough to do. He's in episode 3, you talk to him, interrogate him, he reveals and complies with the sheriff wholeheartedly, and you get to show him a little kindness. He's grateful if you get him a new job, and the finale reveals that he has a job as trucker for Fabletown, escorting animals to the farm, and he's, funnily enough, saying goodbye to Mr. Toad and Toad Jr., escorting them to the farm. Showing that he got his life on track, at least, was a pretty nice, happy ending, but again, kind of a bit character. I'm gonna put him into B tier. The Frog Prince is Flycatcher. Yeah, that's him. This is Prince Naveen, people. They call him, Flycatcher is not his actual name, it's a nickname, because he used to be a frog. This is the Frog Prince. Yeah, this is the guy who ended up with Princess Tiana, people. Now he's a pathetic janitor sweeping up the Tweedles as shit. Well, you can give him a better job. Now he's working for the government officially. Game of Thrones sucks anyway. I agree, Monica. I played their video game and honestly I was having fun until we got halfway through it. Ramsay Snow absorbed way too much screen time. Wow, I didn't recognize him being played by David Kaye, the Canadian goat of voice acting. Yes. Yeah, I love him. David Kaye, honestly, I expected him to have a bigger role, but no, he's just Dr. Swinehart and I guess a few background voices, but yeah, that's it. He wasn't even the main villain. Monica having the scared react emoji. I don't care for Spider-Man. Aw, Shadow, you don't? Spidey's awesome. I know you love Black Cat. Yeah, that's the Frog Prince. Flycatcher was one of the most important people during the Adversary War. Yeah, again, he's kind of here because he was important in the comic book. It's a cameo role, basically. He shows up, he's working for the government, and he drives off to the farm, hinting that his story from the comic is going to take place very soon. Yeah, he's kind of here just for fans. I'll put him on the B tier. I shouldn't laugh, but that's hilarious. Wow, the Frog Prince must have let himself go after the divorce. Princess Tiana took everything. Or this could be the other idea that Naveen did live up to his promise. He got a job for Tiana, but he just didn't get a very good job. Yeah, we'll put him on to B tier. Alright, next, also knock off Hans. I believe, not sure, this is Hans. I thought he was Hansel from Hansel and Gretel, but no, he's Hans, the helping hands guy. Yeah, Hans, unfortunately also going on to C tier. This guy was a background character. I didn't even know he was a Fable until I unlocked his biography. This guy is basically a bouncer at Georgie's Disney Princess Strip Club. He's there and funnily enough, despite his tough guy demeanor, he actually helps Bigby Wolf. He tells him about the little black book the prostitutes use, and that's kind of the end of his role. He just stands in the background. Doesn't even show up for the trial, which kind of surprised me because I thought for sure he would testify against Georgie, but yeah, kind of a bit character. Sadly has to go into C tier. He's not as worst as Jack. That's because Jack actually had a character. Yeah, Jack actually had a character. Sadly, Hans didn't have too much to do. I guess he was gonna get more to do, like he would take over the prostitution club or the nightclub, whatever, but he didn't really appear often. I'm gonna put him onto C tier. Alright, another bit character. This is Johann, the Butcher. Who? Oh, this is the Butcher. He's famous for being an extra in a lot of fables and fairy tales. He's the Butcher, as in the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Yeah, he's known for being an extra in fairy tales, and we meet him, he's opened up his own deli, but it turns out he's in bed with the Crooked Man. Okay, I kind of liked Johann, but I'll put him under the Woodsman, but above the Tweedles for sure. Okay, so Johann is basically one of the criminals forced into evil. Johann tried to be a legitimate businessman. He ran his butcher shop, cared about Fabletown, helped the people, even sold meat to humans and fairy tales, but his business was taken over by the Crooked Man. The Crooked Man basically absorbed his building. He showed kindness towards Bloody Mary and the Tweedles, actually gave them a place to hang out during a hot summer day, then they hijacked his entire livelihood. Johann is effectively a hostage being forced to serve the Crooked Man and his goons. His business was turned into a front for making fake glamours. Johann is basically the face, the doorman of this operation, even though it's his own business. Johann is being held hostage. You go to interrogate him, and he unfortunately cowers and bends the knee to Bloody Mary, warns her that the sheriff is here. You interrogate him in a freezer, kind of Silent Hill 2 style, but yeah, after you go into the freezer, find out he's actually helping them ship these fake glamours, and you find out, in his own business, it's turned into a glamour drug lab. We need a Fables TV show, absolutely. Yeah, poor Johann is basically another one of the underclass citizens who the government turned its back on. He tried calling the sheriff for help, but nobody ever came to investigate him until now. He thought he was completely connected to the Crooked Man, afraid that he'd be arrested too. He was a patsy, a fall guy, a pawn that they were using and would be easily disposed of. In the back of the butcher shop, you find out the glamours are being made here, the illegal ones, and that Johann did not know anything about it. He tells you everything, and in exchange he wants protection, where you get the choice to, either forgive him or arrest him. And I do kind of choose to forgive him, because it's very clear that he had no choice, and the goons do not speak highly of him, implying that, he was just a complete disposable pawn. Johann also showed up to testify against the Crooked Man at the trial, so he did win points for that. Unfortunately, like in his fairy tales, he's kind of an extra. I'm gonna put him onto B tier. Yeah, we do need a Fables TV show, absolutely. Alright, let's knock off Tiny Tim, who, unfortunately, also going on to C tier. Yeah, I will put him above Jack, because he was a lot more likable. This is Tiny Tim. Yes, Tiny Tim from The Christmas Carol. Tiny Tim has a few cameos, and basically, he, like Johann, is another metaphor for the underclass citizens. He was neglected by the government. He's still crippled even after the end of his story. Tiny Tim still has his crutches. He goes by Tim now because he's now a teenager in the mortal world. He actually got a job working as the doorman for the Crooked Man. And this is kind of foreshadowing that the Crooked Man tries to pretend he's a nice guy, that, see, I hired Tiny Tim even though no one else would because he was discriminated against for being handicapped. And Tim basically only has one major scene. He escorts Bigby, and you have the choice of either leaving him behind and walking ahead of him, or slowing down and allowing him to be your escort, do his job. And basically, Tiny Tim wanted to be treated as an equal, but wasn't by the government, and he started working with the Crooked Man. He's kind of the token good teammate, as he's a voice of reason, and basically kind of a butler for the Crooked Man. Crooked Man pretends like, oh, we're both handicaps, we should stick together. He gave him a job, didn't discriminate against him, but that's also kind of where his role ends. He escorts Sheriff Bigby, then when Crooked Man's arrested, we see Tiny Tim is now working around the government. Basically, Bigby and Snow gave him a pardon, and it's a very basic plot. I'm gonna put him onto C tier. Since when is The Christmas Carol a fairy tale? I know, but apparently The Wolf Among Us made it so. They kind of go from fables and fairy tales to full-blown fiction. Like, anything that's fictional now counts as a magical fairy tale. But hey, Christmas Carol has ghosts in it, so I guess it counts. Let's do Beauty and the Beast. Alright. So we have Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast are now middle-class citizens. They're not super poor, but they're also not super rich either. They're middle-class citizens. This is Beauty and the Beast. Basically, a couple having a lover's spat. They try to set up Beauty like she's a red herring too, because she's sneaking off from the Fables apartment and asks Bigby, oh, please don't tell Beast you saw me. It turns out Beauty and the Beast did not have a great happily ever after. After the Great Exodus, they actually moved in here, and Beast is working odd jobs. However, they're struggling to make ends meet, and Beauty is working as the receptionist at a sleazy motel. This is where the Disney princess prostitutes go to with basically their marks. Beauty got a job secretly working at the sleazy motel as a receptionist. However, she's afraid if Beast finds out, she might assume the worst. And Beauty and the Beast, okay, I do kind of like them. I might put them onto A tier also. I'll put Beauty under Snow White. Beast, actually a pretty nice guy. I'll put him above Beauty. Believe it or not, Beauty and the Beast are voiced by Clementine and Kenny from The Walking Dead. And yes, it is kind of hilarious hearing them. Kenny and Clementine play Beauty and the Beast. That is some of the most hilarious casting ever. Beauty and the Beast are basically common citizens who live in Fabletown, and you find out they're unintentionally wrapped up in this case. We find out how powerful the Crooked Man really is, that it's not just poor citizens who are in debt to him. Beauty and the Beast are also in debt to the Crooked Man, and Beauty got a job working at the prostitute hotel. Beast delivers packages for the Crooked Man, unaware that they're his illegal products and glamours. Fables is just public domain characters, pretty much. Yeah, it is. Well, do any versions technically say he fully heals? I only remember it says he doesn't die. Well, I thought Scrooge, paid for the surgery to help Tiny Tim get his leg surgery, but apparently not at the end of the Fables version. All we need is Alistair in this show at this point, or Peter Rabbit as Slenderman. Any fictional character you can think of, lol. Beast form looks so bad. I mean, give benefit of the doubt that the remake of Beauty and the Beast made it, somewhat like in the 1990s Disney. Okay, so Beauty and the Beast are unintentionally wrapped up in the mystery as Bigby's investigating it. As he finds out the prostitutes went to this motel Beauty is working at, Beauty becomes a reluctant ally, helping him find the room where she was killed. Only for Beast to show up, of course at the wrong time, assuming the worst. He finds Beauty and Bigby Wolf together at this sex hotel, and pretty much jumps to a conclusion that Beauty is cheating on him, where Beast unlocks his beast form and has a fight with Bigby Wolf. Yeah, Bigby and Beast fight each other, unfortunately not in their full forms. They get half human, half monster forms, and kind of wrestle around the hotel. You break pipes, you can beat Beast, you can show him mercy. It's a decent fight, but not as good as the first fight with Grendel, and especially not as good as Jersey Devil's boss fight. Yeah, we didn't see Beast's full form yet, which I assume they were going to be back in the second game, and we'll see if they still will be. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast have a fight, and Beauty finally tells him that she's not a prostitute, she's not cheating on him, and she's not seeing Bigby. She works the front desk of the hotel and is helping Bigby on a case, and yeah, thanks to them you do help find the room where Lily was killed. So, I do kind of like Beast because he's a nice guy. He is afraid that he's gonna lose Beauty, and this is kind of their arc for the rest of the game. They have a lover's spat. Beauty and Beast are now fighting, having a lover's quarrel, are bickering, are treating the other like a traitor, and whoever you side with in the argument, they act like Bigby's a friend while the other doesn't like him. If you told Beast the truth, then he's your friend. If you helped Beauty cover up her lies, then she's your friend. And basically you help get them back together. That is their whole plot. Beauty and the Beast almost have a fight and divorce. However, they get back together, they realize how wrong the other was, finally apologize, and basically back Bigby up by the end of the game. Yeah, they can become potential allies on the Crooked Man's trial, and yeah, I do like them. I like that Beauty and the Beast are one of the few healthy couples in this game, and despite their fighting and their problems, they actually do care about each other. Actually a pretty wholesome ending to them. What choices did you make for these two? Okay, so I did help cover up Beauty's lies at first, because I believe she was innocent, though Beast does show he's a nice guy. I felt sympathy for him. I did choose both eventually, where one game playthrough I help Beast, one game playthrough I help Beauty, and yeah, I do kind of feel sorry for both of them because they're both good people, but they've made some bad choices and are wrapped up in this terrible sequence of events. I do kind of feel for both of them and like that they do get back together. Unfortunately, this kind of makes what happens to them in the comics all the more tragic. I didn't know Clementine voice actress voiced Beauty in this too, along with Toad Jr. Yeah, Clementine voices Toad Jr. and Beauty. You can really hear older Clementine in Beauty's voice, and Kenny from The Walking Dead plays Beast. Weirdest shipping ever, especially if you played The Walking Dead Season 2 before this game. Yeah, I usually try to help them get back together. I usually sided with Beauty because she wants to help. Beast wants to protect his wife, doesn't want her to work, but finds out, yeah, they are desperate. It's a harsh truth. They do need money. And you help them, you resolve the Crooked Man case, and it's implied Beauty and Beast are on much better terms with Bigby, unless you chose the ending where Bigby scares them. Yeah, we didn't see Beast's full form yet. We should have, but no, they tease it and imply we'll see them next game. Yeah, I'll put them onto A tier. Alright, we're nearing the end. Let's bump off Prince Lawrence. Okay, I like Lawrence, but yeah, he's also pretty low character. You know, I might put him above Ichabod Crane at least, because he's likable. This is Prince Lawrence. He's the husband of the first murder victim, or I should say former husband. He's husband of Faith. She's still down here. He was Faith's Prince Charming, her savior. He was the hero of her fairy tale, Donkey Skin Girl. Yes, that was what it was actually called. He helped save Faith from an abusive father and gave her her happily ever after. He was once a Prince Charming-esque character who was the hero of the story. He wooed her, romanced her, showed that he loved her beyond her looks, and helped save her from a life marrying her abusive father. Yes, that is what happened in the fairy tale. However, when we find him, he is a complete shell of a man. He is completely depressed, broken, poor, and tries to commit suicide, blaming himself for Faith's horrible lot in life. They are a very tragic note of what happens after Happily Ever After. After the great exodus in the homeland, Prince Lawrence failed to support their family. He failed as a man, he failed as a financial supporter, he failed at being a good husband, and eventually Faith ended up abandoning him. Faith turned to prostitution to make ends meet. They had a fight, and when we meet him, he attempts suicide. He tried to kill himself, but depending on your choices, he can die or live. I have a great question. What happens if you pick Prince Lawrence first? If you pick him first, he lives. Yeah, I highly recommend going to his apartment first in the first episode. If you go to his apartment first, you save him before his suicide. If you don't, he is dead. Yeah, it's a save them or let them die choice. Prince Lawrence can die, and if he committed suicide, he stays dead. He is a very obscure fairy tale, which is why their death is so vital to the plot. Okay, just checking comments. Yeah, you save Prince Lawrence, find out he's this depressed kind of bum. He tried to make it but failed and blames himself for his wife leaving him. Tried to shoot himself but completely missed and shot his lung. He bled out, and depending on your choices, either Bigby Wolf or one of the Tweedles interrogates him for intel on Faith. And yeah, you find out more about Faith's fairy tale through him. I honestly try to save him every time. The first time I didn't. The second playthrough I did, yeah, I did. And he shows he's kind of this recovering drug addict. He wants to get his life back on track. He stands up for Faith, helps give the government any intel they need, and wants justice for Faith. And believe it or not, he actually grows a spine by the end. If he lived, he helps call out the Crooked Man. He helps testify against him and becomes a very useful asset in the trial. Unfortunately, he is kind of obscure because Telltale didn't want to program too much in case you accidentally caused his death. But yeah, I'll put him onto B tier. Pretty nice guy. Hope he gets his life back on track, and hope we see him in Wolf Among Us 2 if he did get his happy ending. Alright, final 5. Next, I think we'll do Auntie Greenleaf. This is Auntie Greenleaf, one of the illegal underground witches making illegal glamours for the Crooked Man, played by Laura Bailey, who you should instantly recognize because she does an old version of her Selena Kyle voice. Yeah, Greenleaf actually might put onto A tier. Yeah, I'll put her under Bluebeard. No, maybe, yeah, I'll put her above Vivian because she had more character. Too bad every YouTuber chose Toad first. Yeah, he makes it sound like he's in very serious danger, but no, if you don't go to Prince Lawrence's apartment, then he dies. Yeah, once again, those harsh Telltale choices. Okay, this is Auntie Greenleaf, the Crooked Man's witch. She helps make illegal glamours, and she is in the pocket of both the Crooked Man and the corrupt mayor, Ichabod Crane. She has her own magic tree, which she helps makes artifacts from. This includes glamours. She was helping supply Mayor Crane with Snow White glamours. She helped give him the tools for his creepy fantasies in exchange for a high price, of course. And she's also serving the Crooked Man, helping sell illegal glamours. She gets a cut to keep her apartment, and the Crooked Man gets a cut to keep her protected. Like, hidden from the government, out of trouble, out of sight, out of mind. And she went along with him for years, up until Bigby and Snow White come a-knocking at her door. So, I did like Laura Bailey is in this game. It's kind of funny hearing Laura Bailey in many video games, even on Telltale. And yeah, she kind of sounds like Catwoman at times. You can really hear her Selena Kyle in her voice acting. Though, Auntie Greenleaf is basically a background character in her fairy tales. She's a witch. She's the old hag in the end of every story. She outlives everyone, has seen people come and go in her life, and it's implied her daughter is also dead. You actually have a very fun misdirect here. You meet Auntie Greenleaf's quote-unquote daughter, Rachel. This little girl answers the door and has funny banter with Snow White and Bigby Wolf, and through a lot of intense build-up and mystery solving, you find out this little girl is actually this elder witch, Auntie Greenleaf. She apparently has a glamour to make herself look like her daughter because she was sad at the loss of her. They don't spell it out for us, but it's implied that she lost this kid. This kid was a normal human she loved and raised, and eventually died of old age while she had to live on. And Auntie Greenleaf kept a glamour of her, implying a tragic backstory for her. And this helps kind of shape her character a bit. She doesn't want to be a villain, but she's being extorted, being used, and this leads to the ultimate choice. Snow White wants to destroy her glamour tree. Snow White orders Bigby to burn the tree, take away her only resource and livelihood, where you make the choice of either torching her only source of magic or forcing her to work for the government. Didn't recognize Laura Bailey as Auntie Greenleaf. I honestly didn't too, because Laura Bailey also voiced her little girl form, Rachel. Yeah, she was actually pretty good as Rachel, because it didn't sound like any of Laura Bailey's other voices. Then, once she turns into her real form, basically her Catwoman voice kind of comes out of here. She's sassy, she's snarky, she's very old and grouchy, seen it all, been there, done that. She helped the Crooked Man because he was the one giving her money. She turned her back on the government and helped his criminal deeds because she needed money to keep this shithole apartment. Sorry, just grabbing my charger, making sure I can stay in touch with you guys. Question, did she really have a grandchild? Because there was a picture of her and her little girl disguise. I think the little girl was actually her grandchild, or possibly daughter even. Yeah, I think the kid was actually hers. The kid, it's implied she was a human. She was a Mundy. She grew old and died, and Auntie Greenleaf brings us up that she outlives everyone around her, that she's going to be an old hag for the rest of her life and lost people, implying that her daughter was one of the people she lost. I do not like the comic book version retcon of her that she was also in love with Crane. Yeah, that was really creepy and unnecessary. At least the child lived through life, possibly got married and had children. Unfortunately, Greenleaf never got to talk to her ever again when she eventually expired. But yeah, Greenleaf is a glamour dealer. She was forced into this life, and Bigby Wolf can actually force her to work for the government. But Snow White wants her tree destroyed. I honestly allow her to keep the tree because, yeah, it's her only source of income and the primary source of her magic. You do confiscate the tree if you choose to spare her, but if you choose to burn the tree, she's essentially ruined. Now she can't use as much magic as she could. Yet her magic is kind of bound to this tree. However, you do have to burn it if you want to unlock all the case files. But I do like that she has a complete turnaround. This is why she's on A tier. As you play through the game, Auntie Greenleaf, if you chose the good ending, she actually wants to bring the Crooked Man to justice. No matter what your choice was, she believes that killing fairy tales is wrong and they should still live with each other, that he should be punished but not full-blown executed. Auntie Greenleaf becomes like one of the voices of reason in the crowd and debates that she can punish the Crooked Man without murdering another one of their own. And yeah, I do kind of like that. Auntie Greenleaf made it to A because she's the one who hexes the Crooked Man into becoming a bird. She agrees with the sheriff that the Crooked Man is the greater evil here, sides with you, and yeah, if you take the good ending, she's the one who puts the spell on him and becomes his watcher. We see her escorting the Crooked Raven now, promising that she'll keep him under surveillance, and she's turned over, just for pun, a new leaf. Yeah, pretty satisfying ending and redemption arc, honestly. I'm gonna put her onto A tier. Also, it's pretty hilarious hearing Laura Bailey from her. Sorry, catch up on comments. Alright. Yeah, I believe the little girl was actually her relative. At least, yeah, I read that one. That's kind of harsh because Snow was literally risking any Fables chances to have a glamour. Yeah, she was, but it was, again, kind of her emotional position. She was compromised by her feelings and how she couldn't stand the fact that her boss was a creeper and lashing out at literally everyone. Yet Greenleaf was not entirely innocent, but she offered to help in exchange to keep her tree, but Snow White said no. But yeah, she can actually turn over a new leaf, so I'll put her on to A tier. Alright, final four, let's go. Alright, next I'll bump off Faith, and Faith actually going on to S tier. This is Faith. She is basically the first murder victim, though possibly not so. So, Faith is the fable known as the Donkey Skin Girl. She was once the most beautiful princess in all the land that everyone desired and wanted her, including her own father. Yeah, feel free to vomit. Her father wanted to marry his own daughter, and she sought freedom, sought escape, so she disguised herself in a donkey skin, hid her beauty with the ugliest thing imaginable. The donkey, hilariously, was her father's prized burro, and she had the donkey killed so she could wear his hide, basically getting back at her abuser, and shielding herself from the rest of the world. Yeah, she wore what's implied to be a prototype glamour, the donkey skin. It made her appear ugly, however, she met Prince Lawrence, who saw through the donkey skin and loved her for who she was, that her beauty didn't matter to him, where they hooked up and got married. However, as I said in Prince Lawrence's entry, they had a falling out once they got to the city, and she became a prostitute. Very sexy one. They weirdly make her look like Jill Valentine. Yeah, I couldn't get over that. She looks like Jill Valentine from RE3. Okay, sorry, just catch up on comments. Yeah, they kind of made her look like a Jill Valentine prostitute. She has like a green tube top and the short black skirt, and even her haircut kind of looks like Jill's from the Nemesis game. Faith ends up being the first murder victim, or so we think. Yeah, there's kind of this looming mystery, this overarching implication that there's more to her and Nerissa than we seem. Speaking of which, I think I will also put the Little Mermaid up here. We'll talk about her next, but yeah, I'll put Nerissa possibly above Faith, depending on what ending you think. Faith is on S tier because she's the one nice person towards Bigby Wolf. Bigby helps save her from the woodsman. The woodsman is lashing out at her, and you settle their domestic squabble. She apologizes for inconveniencing the sheriff and tells him the famous quote, "You know, you're not as bad as everyone says you are." Gives Bigby a hero kiss, and they actually part as kind of on friendly terms, hinting that she'll be back. Then Faith is murdered. Her head is completely cut off by the magic ribbon and left on the doorstep. You find out this is the hooker you talked to earlier and start the whole mystery. However, this leads us to Nerissa. This is the Little Mermaid, Ariel the prostitute. Yes, it is kind of funny seeing the Little Mermaid as one of the top prostitutes at Georgie's Disney Princess nightclub. Yeah, this is the Little Mermaid from the original Little Mermaid, the one who grew legs and it felt like walking on shards of glass for love. Yeah, that kind of story. Nerissa is Faith's best friend and implied to be possibly something more. Nerissa is basically the most useful helper, aiding Bigby on the case, giving you hints, telling you that the ribbons are magic, well, through kind of coded language. She can't be explicit. She's trying to find loopholes to help the sheriff set Bigby on the right track, and it's revealed that Nerissa is the informant who helped take down the Crooked Man. Nerissa knew about the Crooked Man. She tried to escape his grasp, however he discovered they were trying to leave him, so he had them made examples of. Where Georgie executed Faith, then executed Lily, because the three of them tried to bail out. Nerissa slowly helps fight back against her abusers, gives Bigby a lot of intel, a lot of aid, and yeah, she also gets a nude scene, so enjoy some Ariel full frontal, folks. But Nerissa is like the best ally, but then we get to the twist ending, where Nerissa says a similar thing Faith said at the beginning of the game, leading to the ending. The ending is very ambiguous, but it's implied Nerissa and Faith are the same person. Faith didn't actually die at the start. She is wearing a glamour to look like Ariel. Yeah, it is kind of weird, confusing, and to this day, fans are debating on it. Some say Nerissa was actually Faith at the beginning and is actually herself at the end, but some theorize Faith is actually Nerissa. That the Little Mermaid was the first murder victim, and she's been cosplaying as Nerissa to escape the Crooked Man's eye and basically lie low. She stole the Little Mermaid's identity, and she says the same phrase that she said at the start of the game towards Bigby before walking off, where you can either confront her or let her go, finally free. I honestly kind of choose to follow her because I'm very interested in seeing what this would lead into Season 2. Unfortunately, Season 2 seems to be abandoning this plot thread. Though, I'm kind of happy leaving it ambiguous. Let it be one of those golden endings like the ending of Inception or a Twilight Zone ending, keeping it vague. Definitely an ambiguous ending. I agree, Shadow. Also, how do you explain Faith's decapitated head? There was a glamour lodged in her mouth, implying that's what was there. Yeah, Faith was more than meets the eye, yep. What happened to her father anyway? Don't worry, her dad is dead. We find out in the beginning of the episode where the father is a suspect on the list. We find out he died a long time ago. Yeah, he died in the homelands, and we see him as a rotting corpse. Yeah, she got away from her dad, and it's implied he died alone and sad. She looks adorable. Yeah. Hey, Shadow, do you think Faith kind of looks like Jill Valentine from RE Nemesis? She wears like a similar outfit that Jill Valentine wears in the first episode. Love the ending and the revelation to the multiple endings with Nerissa. Yeah, Faith was more than meets the eye. Yeah, even in my chat, there's a debate. Is it Faith or Nerissa? It's implied to be Faith, and that's the ending I kind of lean towards. I do believe this is Faith because she has the power to basically glam herself up because she's the donkey skin girl, but I would believe it's also Nerissa if you gave me enough proof. Again, hence why there needs to be a second season. Unfortunately, it's implied Telltale might be moving on from the first story arc from first season. They're gonna start fresh and new with a whole new roster of villains and a new case. I'd be fine with that like I was for Batman, but it's kind of a crime they're not gonna answer this ending. Maybe the character's designer is a simp for Jill Valentine. Kinda does. Okay, thank you, Shadow. I'm not crazy. Yeah, she kinda looks like Jill Valentine as Faith. Yeah, she wears the green tube top and the black skirt and almost has like a hairstyle like hers. A lot more black than brown, but yeah, kinda looks like Jill Valentine. But yeah, do like Faith and Nerissa, whoever they are, who they really are. Both of them go into S tier. Easily the most interesting character of the game. A total like watered down femme fatale character, very mysterious, very ominous, but actually on the side of Bigby, and she sees good in Bigby Wolf. It's implied she also has feelings for him, possibly as Faith, but she's willing to let him go because she's finally free at the end. Also, don't read the comic book adaptation of the game, it has a terrible ending, which is non-canon. More than meets the eye. We bringing Transformers into this now? Lol, JK. I still gotta replay War for Cybertron. I want to do that War for Cybertron character tier list. Yeah, sorry guys, but it's one of those things I just put off. Yeah, War for Cybertron tier list, still on the chopping block. Okay, yeah. Faith and Nerissa both going on to S tier. Pretty great character, and really hope this gets answered in Season 2, but it seems unlikely. But still, S tier character. Really like the ending. The ending is basically the highlight of this game and what people have been talking about for years. Going up top. Alright, final two. Let's do Colin, one of the three little pigs, and Colin also going on to A tier. He's a bro. Do I want to put him up higher? Unfortunately, his arc kind of gets anticlimactically ended in a lot of scenarios. Alright, I'll put him on to A tier. This is Colin, one of the three little pigs. If you're curious, he's the one who built the straw house. He was one of the victims of Bigby Wolf, then became one of his few friends in this video game. Colin is another side character. He's basically kind of this guy who crashes in Bigby's apartment. He's his unofficial roommate. Colin doesn't like the farm. He always runs away, always leaves it. He can't stand living at the farm. So he moved in with Bigby, and he claims that, well, Bigby, you owe me. You did destroy my house. And Bigby kind of lets him laze about, lets him joins him, and Colin actually is one of the few friends Bigby has. Yeah, one of the three little pigs terrorized by the big bad wolf actually becomes his greatest bro. Colin, he's a buddy, he's cool, he's likable, he's the Rigby to Bigby's Mordecai, just as a really lovable scamp character. Love that the three little pigs has this adorable little pig character, basically nonchalantly cussing and smoking and drinking. It's kind of funny. It reminds me of Ted, the Seth MacFarlane bear. He's this cute, adorable animal character who is very crass, very upfront about his feelings, and always chain-smoking some of Bigby's cigars. Yeah, Colin basically kind of becomes a conscious character for Bigby. He becomes his conscious, the good cop, the voice of reason for Bigby and Snow White. He eavesdrops in a lot of the conversations, always gives his 2 cents, and encourages Bigby to let his wolf out, especially when you're facing bad guys. However, this is his biggest importance. Snow White wants to have him sent to the farm, and it basically tests your friendship. Do you send Colin back to the farm, where, spoiler alert, he dies in the comics there, or do you keep him as your roommate, unofficially of course, where I always kind of side with Colin. I like him, I don't want to send him back to the farm, and unlike Mr. Toad, he actually listens to you and befriends you. What's the terrible ending in the comic? Oh, you really want to know, Monica? Okay, so The Wolf Among Us has a comic book adaptation, and it actually is faithful to the video game until the ending. Whoever wrote The Wolf Among Us comic book adaptation really had this fan crush on the Crooked Man. The Crooked Man gets a lot more focus, a lot of favoritism, and basically, he wins. We find out at the end of the comic, the Crooked Man somehow escapes prison, Yeah, he was locked up and he doesn't even face any of your options of justice at the end of the trial. He's locked in a cell after the trial instead, and he uses Bloody Mary's mirror to escape. And he shows up at the end to get revenge. After Nerissa slash Faith tells Bigby that he's not as bad as everyone thinks and has that whole ambiguous ending, the Crooked Man shows up and jumps Nerissa, taking her hostage and revealing the big twist that he knows she's Faith and he wants revenge, and that's where it ends. It's implying that the Crooked Man was going to be the villain in the second game, but fans despised it, because yeah, Nerissa is last seen being taken hostage by the Crooked Man. He uses Bloody Mary's mirror magic to escape and basically ambush her, implying he's going to use her and her powers to rebuild his empire. Yeah, there's a reason why fans declared it non-canon. So, basically, in the comic, Colin becomes Bacon. Yeah, Colin doesn't last long. If Shadow, you're in the chat still, you know he doesn't survive the first revolt. More than meets the eye. Yeah, the comic has a really terrible ending. Basically, the Crooked Man escapes, ruins Nerissa's happy ending, and it's implied they're setting him up to be the villain in The Wolf Among Us 2. This was from a non-canon idea that Telltale originally had planned and didn't go with, and apparently they're not going with it in the official second game. So yeah, the ending kind of looks worse, and the fact that there's not even a follow-up to this dark twist ending just pissed everyone off. Love Colin, about on par with Rigby from Regular Show, a real bro and good friend. Yeah, bro sprect. I thought he was the pig with the bricks. No, Colin had the straw house because he mentions Bigby destroyed it. Whatever happens to Colin's brother is killed by Bigby. Whatever happened to Colin's brother is killed by Bigby. Actually, no. The brothers are at the farm, and Colin's brothers are the ones who lead the rebellion at the farm and basically kill and betray Colin. You know, I actually might bump Colin up a notch. We'll put him low on S tier. Yeah, he's a bro. Bro spect. Love that pig. He's going on to S tier. Oh, and for whatever ending I choose, yeah, I usually choose to help Colin avoid the farm because he suffered a terrible fate in the comics. But yeah, Colin's awesome. I'll put him low on S tier. And finally, ending on a high note, we have Bloody Mary. Yes, Bloody Mary, absolute bad bitch, going on to S tier. I love this girl. Bloody Mary is awesome. This is her glamour form. Don't worry, I'll show you her true form soon enough, but Bloody Mary, one of the best characters in this video game. Yeah, Colin's brothers are not dead. They're living on the farm, secretly plotting to overthrow it. They basically betray Colin in the comics, and yeah, kind of glad they didn't show up here. But yeah, they're not in the game because they're up at the farm. Anyways, yeah, best high note ever, Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is awesome. She is sadistic, savage, twisted, and has a dark sense of humor. Bloody Mary is the Crooked Man's right-hand woman. She's his most loyal enforcer, his attack dog. Yes, this is Bloody Mary, the scary monster we all know from grade school. Say her name in the mirror 3 times and she shows up to kill ya. She is a supernatural serial killer. Bloody Mary shows up in this sexy gang girl glamour form, but really, her true form is nightmarish. If you didn't see it before, I'll show you guys now. There's Jersey Devil. Let's show you Bloody Mary. Yeah, Bloody Mary true form. Yeah, here she is. Here she is. Here's the woman of our nightmares. Yeah, this is Bloody Mary's true form. This grotesque demon with shards of glass and satanic symbols all over her. This is what Bloody Mary truly looks like underneath her sexy ghetto bitch look. Yeah, oh, here's an anime form of what she looks like. Look at that nice detail. Yeah, this is what Bloody Mary actually is. Bloody Mary has this epic boss fight with Bigby Wolf, where you fight her shadow clones. Bloody Mary can clone herself off of reflective surfaces, travel through mirrors, and has super strength. She is a very harsh physical match for Bigby Wolf. Here's Bigby in his true form and Bloody Mary and her shadow clones fighting. Really epic boss fight, honestly. Trying to get one. Oh, here's a gif. I wonder if that will look good in the stream. Yeah, she is creepy. Hey Kat, I'm back. I wanted to say I just updated the thing I talked about and still have a link to that if you want to read it later on. Not right now, though. Obviously not right now, but I'll get to it. Bloody Mary is very sadistic and definitely enjoys her job way too much. Also a great rivalry with Bigby. Yeah, Bloody Mary is pretty much the final boss of the video game. Love Bloody Mary, and guess who voices Bloody Mary? Hey Dexter, what's that? It's Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory. Yes, Dee Dee voices this psycho. Yeah, this is Bloody Mary. If you want a better picture of her glamour form, this is what she looks like when she dolls herself up before revealing the horrific ghoul she really is underneath. Yeah, that big reveal of what she looks like, really terrifying. Basically, Wolf Among Us is doing a creepypasta. Yeah. Now for the one and only Bloody Mary. Love this psycho bitch. Like, what if Harley Quinn was more serious and was more sadistic? And yes, way more scarier than the scary Mary from The Haunting Hour. Absolutely. This is what she should have looked like in R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. Yeah, this is Bloody Mary. Really secretly this mirror-traveling boogie woman. She is a nightmare. Bloody Mary backs up the Crooked Man, shows up for boss fights. Yeah, Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory of all voice actress plays her, and I really liked her. I'm Bloody Mary. I show up at sleeping parties. The kids think it's so much fun until I cut out their organs and feed them to the family dog. She is really psychotic. Bloody Mary basically kills people on the Crooked Man's behalf and acts as his bodyguard. She can travel through mirrors. Even the magic mirror is afraid of her. She has shards of glass that she can stab people with, super strength on par with the big bad wolf, and has one of the greatest boss fights in the game. So, she shows up at the end of episode 3, revealing that she's the face for the Crooked Man, speaks for him. She breaks Bigby's arm, threatens to kill him if he ever comes back. However, Snow White saves Bigby Wolf. Shows up again at the end of episode 4. She was escorting Ichabod Crane to Paris, tells him to not step out of line again, or she'll totally end him. Then she shows up at the end of episode 4 with this really cool mirror power. She looks like she's standing in the room, but isn't. Then she steps through the mirror, revealing herself, where she becomes essentially the final boss of episode 5. Bloody Mary helps the Crooked Man escape when you corner him. Then you track them down to the factory. They're at this old abandoned factory where they make the glamours, and Bloody Mary finally steps out, revealing her true form, that hideous mirror walker. Yeah, you saw it. It looks pretty gnarly. Really love how she looks in the true form. And yeah, has a really vicious and fun boss fight. She is the first actual threat towards Bigby Wolf. Not that the Jersey Devil wasn't threatening, but Bloody Mary comes close to killing him until Bigby goes full wolf mode and he uses his super duper huff and puff powers to blow all the shadow clones, rips Bloody Mary apart, and goes feral monster on her. Wow, Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory, didn't recognize her. Yeah, me neither. Allison Moore or Cat Crusada. Not sure who you're talking about, James. I might need some clarification, or I need to read this. Now for the one and only Bloody Mary. Yep, love her. Better than Scary Mary, absolutely. Oh, I meant the voices. Oh, Allison Moore or Cat Crusada. I think it was Crusada. Yeah, I think it was Cat Crusada. She voiced Dee Dee from, or whoever, she voiced Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory. Fun fact, her character design is also inspiration for my mascot, which I have a red highlights on her bangs. Yeah, she looks pretty cool. Though, I have this theory that Telltale recycled their zombie animations from their Walking Dead games, because Bloody Mary kind of moves like one of the walkers from Lee and Clementine's saga. Yeah, I think this was an unused walker design from the Telltale Walking Dead games. But yeah, she shows up, reveals she's this deformed pale ghoul with a ripped shirt, has a ton of satanic markings and shards of glass sticking out of her, and she does this really creepy hiss, this bloodthirsty hiss. Like, she loses the ability to speak when she's in her monster form, and every time she walks or moves, it sounds like shattering glass. It is nightmare-inducing. But yeah, she's effectively the final boss of the game. She has this big epic showdown with Bigby Wolf, has shadow clones, and you go wolf mode and have fun killing them all. It is fun, satisfying, and shows why this game is epic. Bloody Mary is an epic character, really love her, cute and psycho, has this gnarly design both in her human form and her glamour form, and really like her as a villain. Bloody Mary was not a character anyone expected to appear in this game, and she was a pleasant surprise. She is S tier, easily my favorite villain of the game, and under the Big Bad Wolf's awesomeness. Also, she must be hard to fight because she's covered in glass. Yeah, Bigby had to go into full wolf mode because he wasn't getting too far in his regular human form. Cat Crusader and Allison Moore voices Dee in particular seasons. Okay, I think it was Cat Crusader. That's what the credits kind of said, or the gist of what I'm remembering. Love the fight between her and Bigby, seeing his and her true forms, and love the car chase that Bigby chases down the Crooked Man, along with meeting Bloody Mary for the first time. Yeah, personality-wise, she's very crass, very upfront, and I do like this small character moment. It's implied Bloody Mary hates Bigby because she used to idolize him. She loved Bigby Wolf as a villain, and she is disappointed and disheartened that he chose to become good and redeem himself. Like, when you're chasing her and the Crooked Man through the factory, she has these scary jump scare moments where she lectures Bigby. Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf. They used to fear you. Their children feared you, would run at the sound of your name. You used to be somebody, but then you went soft. And all for them. Yeah, it's implied Bloody Mary hero-worshipped Bigby when he was a villain. She loved the big bad wolf, the monster of fairy tale myth, and doesn't like that he's become a good guy, seeing it as a betrayal, and that honestly gave her a lot more character than I thought it would. I did like Bloody Mary was a fangirl of his when he was the big bad wolf. Then, when he became a nice guy, now she felt betrayed and wants to kill him, become the true monster that he couldn't live up to. Honestly, pretty interesting for a villain character. But yeah, I'm gonna put her on to S tier. She is awesome. Awesome design, awesome boss fight, awesome performance from DD, and yeah, just an awesome overall character. Really love her, and Evil Dorothy is gonna have some big shoes to fill because Bloody Mary was the greatest villainess. Like Bloody Mary in this game. What I am starting to think Alistair is going to look like in Season 3 of Hazbin Hotel. Let's hope so. You see the Book of Boba Fett with Cad Bane and Boba Fett. This is how you do a face-off, exactly. The Big Bad Wolf versus Bloody Mary. It is epic. And for that, Bloody Mary is bloody glorious. Gonna put her onto S tier. And as you can see, that completes our tier list. We did it. We completed them all. I'll go over it one last time for any of you late birds, or for those of you who skip click all the way to the end to see the ranking in full. But yeah, only one bad character. A lot of okay, decent, and some solid S tier members. Yeah, Bloody Mary is awesome in this game. Alright, so Yeah, as you can see, Wolf Among Us, pretty good roster of characters. Even the smaller ones were pretty okay. Only one god-awful character, but yeah, we'll go over it one last time. So, easily the worst character in the Wolf Among Us, Mr. Toad. Yeah, I hate him. And no, the fact that he's like people in real life did not make me hate him even less. Mr. Toad sucks, and it's all his fault he and his son suffer. He's just an idiot who made his life worse. Easily the worst character of the game. Surprisingly, none in D tier, because the writing was that decent, or I didn't have enough to work with. But in C tier, Hans, Jack, and Tiny Tim, they're okay, but just bit players. They're there, but they don't do too much. I think they're below average. They could have been more, but just glorified extras. Then in B tier, Ichabod Crane. Yeah, I like Roger L. Jackson's performance, sue me. I wish we could give him a bigger Just Desserts, but for now, he was fine as a villain. Prince Lawrence, tragic character. The Tweedles, obviously evil henchman, but kind of funny evil henchman. Johann, sympathetic character. Woodsman, had a very interesting redemption arc. Unfortunately, they didn't do enough with it. Hope Woody comes back in The Wolf Among Us 2, but for now, I thought he was alright. Magic Mirror. Yeah, definitely a great helper character. He's fine, and that's really all I have to say. Flycatcher, the Frog Prince, felt sorry for him. Another good sympathetic character, but just underdeveloped. Still, I'll put him onto B tier. Well, this was fun, Cat. See you next time on the next tier list. Bye, Cat. Bye, Chris. Alright. A tier, all are good characters. Dr. Swinehart, the best surgeon in the world. Georgie, actually a hard-ass character. He's an evil douchebag, but you end up feeling sympathy for him, which shows you how good the writing was. Yeah, I'll put him onto A tier. Vivian has the saddest death scene in the entire game. Really liked her redemption arc and atonement. She definitely deserved praise in A tier. Auntie Greenleaf, yeah, I liked her. Also had a nice redemption arc too, and hearing Laura Bailey in this game is just really funny. Yeah, I'll give her an A tier. Bluebeard, yeah, I love evil Lee Everett. He's just so fun, and Dave Fennoy was having the time of his life as this character. Definitely awesome. Grendel, Holly, definitely really liked both of them for the same reason. Both jerks with the heart of gold, love their redemption, and growing friendship with Bigby. Toad Jr., didn't forget him. Very sweet, innocent kid character. Of course, I felt sorry for him. Hopefully, Toad Jr. gets a happy ending or returns in Wolf Among Us 2. Beauty and the Beast, yeah, I like them. An actual healthy relationship in The Wolf Among Us, like their romantic drama, and how you can actually help save their relationship. Yeah, Beast is a nice guy, love Beauty as this misunderstood atoner. Definitely interesting takes on our favorite Disney couple, but yeah, they're awesome. Snow White, wanted to really love her. I like that they're starting her origin story in this. Almost like her, but she just has so many jerk moments which do kind of hold her back. Buffkin, yeah, I really like him. Funny video game helper. Easily the funniest comic relief. He makes me laugh. That's really all I have to say. Checking the comments. Alright, but who is S tier? The best characters of the game. Colin's a bro. Really like him. Brospect. I love that the big bad wolf and one of the three little pigs became besties. He's awesome and I save him from the farm every time. Faith and Narissa. Yeah, interesting femme fatale character. Not entirely evil, but very fascinating for a noir story. And yeah, that ending is legendary. It's why they both made it up top. Jersey Devil, easily the most underrated character. Love his boss fight, love his over-the-top personality, love his voice acting. This was an awesome boss character, and I kind of hope he comes back in the second game, either as like a minion working for the new villain, because it would be really interesting, or just for a quick cameo. But yeah, underrated S tier. Crooked Man, yeah, one of Telltale's greatest video game villains. He is cool, he is suave, he is in control, and even when it seems like he's losing, he's always has his stone face. Really like him. Underrated villain too. Hopefully they do not try to make the stupid comic ending canon, but yeah, I was satisfied with his story. Easily S tier. Bloody Mary, yep, my favorite villain in the saga. She is cool, she is creepy, and she has one of the greatest boss fights ever. I really wish she would have lived just to fight her again, but yeah, Bloody Mary, one of the best villains in this game. I really love her, and would definitely recommend playing this game to enjoy her boss fight. But number one has to go to Bigby Wolf. He's big, he's bad, he's a lone wolf, he is totally awesome. Love Bigby, of course he make it on number one. Also one of the most underrated Telltale protagonists. Like his hero's journey, like his attitude, like Adam Harrington's voice acting, he is the definitive voice for this character. And I'm looking forward to playing him again in the sequel. So next tier list this weekend or next Friday. Yeah, I'm working on a big video right now. Don't want to spoil what it is. It's a pretty big passion project I've had on the burner for a while. I don't want to tell you what it is yet. I'll tell you what it is when it's ready. But yeah, I do have something in the works. Don't worry. I just kind of have some things going on in life. Christmas is coming up. Spending time with the family again. Spent a long time decorating this house, so sorry. But yeah, I do have a video in development. Tier list... I'm thinking about doing Hazbin Hotel because the new season's finished and I've been waiting to do that for a while. Also have a Power Rangers topic in discussion. I want to do it with Wolf. We might be returning to the realm of Rangers once more. Or finally do that Penguin tier list. So yeah, I have a much bigger variety of tier lists coming up. Either Penguin tier list, a Power Rangers surprise tier list, or Hazbin Hotel tier list. In celebration of the second season, and I know a lot of people want to hear my thoughts on it. Better Snow White than 2024. Absolutely, James, absolutely. But yeah, those are your options for tier list. Penguin, Power Rangers, or possibly finally Hazbin Hotel, since that recently wrapped up. How do you think about doing other live streams like gaming or editing videos? I tried to encourage Wolf to do that, but Wolf didn't seem interested, and I don't want to do editing videos because that kind of spoils the surprise to what's coming to you. I like you guys to feel a bit surprised or excited for what I hype up. Hint to the new episode, what is it going to be? Well, it has something to do with time travel and monsters. I'll leave it at that. I think you guys can figure out what it is, but yeah. Though, it might not be the thing you're thinking of at first glance. Yeah, it has something to do with time travel and monsters, and that's where I'll leave it. It could be anything, really. But yeah, that completes my tier list. Remember, Bigby first place, and Mr. Toad dead last. Screw this frog. So, thank you all for watching. When will our next tier list be? I'm not sure. I want to get Wolf on board for one, so that's entirely up in the air right now. Not sure. I wanted to do it Sunday. That's the time I'm estimating, but it depends on how much progress I get done on this new video. But yeah, those are the tier lists I have in mind. Look forward to those. Thank you all for joining me. I'm glad you like this, and I am absolutely looking forward to The Wolf Among Us Season 2. Alright, looks like I caught up on comments. Alright, let's wrap up, and I'll finally set you guys free so you can enjoy your dinner. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I wish you all a happily ever after. Take care.